right?
Okay, cool.
Anyways,
Yeah, I did. Do you see that? I sent the sats, so I don't know if you see that right away. So you got yourself a caramel latte or something. Macchiato.
thank you. Did you send them over Lightning
Yeah,
or which network?
Yeah, Lightning.
Cool. I'll check right now. I think I've got that. I've got that hooked up to my fucking. I had problems with my. Got it. Thank you very much. I had problems with my LB node. I was running that for years with no problems, right? Managing a couple of channels to LSPs and like everything worked great. I went on vacation for a couple weeks. Internet went down. I think the Lightning node got corrupted or something, and so when I got back, everything was fucked up. All my channels were closed, and like I wasn't able to um, collaboratively. Well, they weren't closed; they were offline. I wasn't able to collaboratively close them, so I had to force close everything. And then at that point, I was like, "Well, fuck this! Like, I'm just gonna close up shop," because I was mad about it. So, anyways, now everything is sent to my custodial Spark Primal wallet, which feels a little dirty, but it works. It works. Hey, it works. So as long as it works, sats are sats. What's up, Ant?
When will you set up your BTCPay server?
Is that free?
It is.
Now you're speaking my language. Well, maybe I'll set that up at some point. But the thing is, so that requires, okay, so if you're running a BTCPay server, but you're hosting through GitHub, how does that work?
I mean, you hosting through GitHub.
Yeah, like all of my pages are static, hosted through GitHub.
Okay, we have another option.
Wait, Mr. Hoddle, you're totally fucked. You're muted, or it's tin can voice. Yeah, get out of your car.
Yeah, we have another option. So whenever BTCPay Server did like a recent update and they included stores functionality, then you could find somebody like, a friend who who has a BTCPay Server, and then they can actually launch a store in their BTCPay Server, and then like it's just for you and you're using it, and it's just using your friend's BTCPay Server, as like the rails for your store. It's actually pretty sick. Only you knew a friend who
well, but the
was
question
running
is,
BTCPay Server.
but still, the question is. So I guess if and how do you connect to? I mean, you're connecting to that. It would still just be through.
Well, from there, if you're on GitHub, then you're just going to be using the regular old hyperlinking formats.
Yeah, sure, in HTML.
Yeah.
Okay.
Old school.
That works. Yeah. I mean, right now it's literally just static images that like if I get too many payments to like the same like on chain address, then I'll be like, oh, I should probably rotate that. So it's literally just fucking like
yeah. Let's talk about this offline.
I mean, but again, it works, right? And because most of the tips I ever get are over Lightning, like I don't really care. If I ever build up enough balance on my Primal Lightning wallet, I'll swap it into Liquid, and then I build up enough balance on Liquid, and I swap it on chain. So,
and are you a BTCPay Server expert?
No.
Okay.
Well,
but I like it a lot.
Don't be modest, right? I mean, I think, and you have a good amount of experience using it, though, right?
I mean, yeah, I can talk about it a little bit.
I know how to set it up.
For
You can
React
probably debug
for
a little bit.
one of their components.
So,
I mean, I know my way around it a little bit.
He's literally like fucking developed around it.
But I'm not an expert by any means.
Nobody's an expert in anything, Ant.
I guess like when Elon did his dabbling, didn't he go down a BTCPay Server path, as I recall?
Did he? I didn't know that.
No, he did. Remember, because they reported Tesla reported like a kind of an important bug at one point to BTCPay Server. Yeah.
Maybe there's something I knew and forgot. Who knows?
What'd you say, Shinobi?
They did use the self-hosted BTCPay.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah,
so I guess it's
pretty basic.
Wait. Not only Not
Yeah,
only,
that's what you want.
not only do they use,
Unlike me.
not only do they use BTCPay Server.
Your mic still sucks.
Mr.
Take
Havel.
your mic out of your butt.
Deal with it for a second. Not only do they use BTCPay Server, they literally contributed to BTCPay Server, right? Elon was tweeting fucking about BTCPay, absolutely backwards.
We can't hear what you're saying,
I think
man.
he's saying
They
good things about
confibulated.
BTCPay Server.
Yeah,
They
he's saying good things
defibrillated
about
it.
Elon and Elon's relationship with BTCPay Server. That's pretty cool. I'm going to go down that rabbit hole today. I either don't remember that or I didn't know it.
Dude, like people shit on Elon, but like SpaceX and Tesla are how treasury companies should fucking work.
Yep.
They are a real business with real products and services, and they are simply putting it on their balance sheet so that when it goes up, they have more capital to put into their core business.
I agree completely,
Yeah.
Shinobi. But I would also say if you have these, fiat zombie companies, and like they're dead already, and they've been propped up by fake crony capitalist system. Like, so what if they? To me, I where kind of Saylor ripped Danny's head off. Like, if they do that, like, why is it worse than being a zombie fiat
Greg,
company?
I remember when people in this space understood that leverage and derivatives running out of control was the entire fundamental problem with the global economy. Not only is it just retarded and fucking completely insustainable, it literally is just creating the fuel for a fucking boom bust cycle. Watch as all of these fucking companies keep unwinding.
But the
By
volatility
the
is
end of this
valuable,
fucking
right?
market cycle, you will have a
Right.
fraction of these treasury companies because they are nothing but leveraged fucking plays.
But so is
Greg, would
Bitcoin.
you tell your friend? Would you tell your friend that doesn't make any money?
No,
He's
do not
got.
buy any treasury company anywhere. I don't
Hold
fucking
on.
care who they are, how well
If
they're run, or what their
you
fucking shit is. Buy Bitcoin.
if you had a friend that had $400 to his name, and he's not working, he's not making any money, and he needs that $400, you know that he's going to need that $400 to eat, right? Like he's going to need food. Would you recommend him buying Bitcoin?
No.
Yeah, no, that's too volatile.
That's exactly what this is. It's people that have no cash flow, that are sitting on some dollars, that are thinking their business is going to succeed because they're buying Bitcoin. And they're going to be forced sellers, which is what's happening now.
Yeah, I
And when
think
you have
Shinobi
forced
made an
sellers,
excellent
it's not
point.
good.
With you'd rather have a company that's killing it, like whatever Elon's doing with Tesla and SpaceX, and oh by the way, but to just buy and hold Bitcoin is what a lot of the.
Or you have to get lucky with your timing. And I think part of the reason why Saylor's been able to, keep things going is because he got lucky with his first initial like huge buy, right? He got it right before the bull run started and he fucking got like a 20x,
Well,
Saylor isn't the only one.
he's not. I mean, he had
well,
a
not a
business
20x.
intelligence.
He got a fucking
I mean,
I too got lucky.
6x, 7x, 8x right after he bought it, basically, like within a year.
but
It's like
Wicked.
if you fucking have, what was he sitting on, like 500 million cash, and then he also probably borrowed a little bit or issued some ATM or whatever. It's like if you get in early, you got a low cost basis, easy to ride out that first
Wicked, you said
first
that was
bear.
what you were doing in another life, which is building. That's his whole business. He was business intelligence and dashboard. Like that's what MicroStrategy. So I mean, it's like he's getting the shit kicked out.
Should probably go work for him.
Sure, but I mean, I guess he'd been talking about now doing some stuff with decentralized identity. That
was a long time ago. I don't think he hasn't talked about that for like years.
but potentially there's speculation that that's why he, kind of some of this,
I don't think so. I think he hasn't done that for years.
But I mean,
That
like
was that was a really that
he
was a
had
dumb
an
idea.
operating business that like everyone else except Microsoft had sort of, and I guess as far as like just Wicked, you building dashboards, were you doing it all from like were you using Tableau or ClickView or Power BI or anything like that, or were you all just kind of building from
So I started with using what the fuck was it called? It's more like a scientific one. Oh shit, trying to remember. Similar to Tableau, but
Yeah,
anyways, I
like
can't remember it.
There's our studio and SSAS and what's it, like Python, but one of those.
No, it,
One of the
I
scientific.
forget the name of it. But anyways, it was another one, and then I used Tableau for a little while, and then when some of the libraries for making Python based web apps, got a little bit more mature, then I just started building them that way instead, right? And then up until most recently was mostly building all of our dashboards with Streamlit, right? So Python based with Streamlit. And now I'm just back to, I mean, the thing is, like, I feel like you only really need to use those things if you are a Python developer. But now that you have AI, like, you can build real websites. You don't really need to use those, workarounds with like Python libraries anymore. Because I mean, I'm primarily a Python developer, although I haven't actually coded in over a year. I literally haven't written the line of code. But now that you have AI, it's like you can just build your web apps, in actual, JS, HTML, CSS, and probably even in better ways if you want to go down that route, right, Ant? But at least for me, I just keep things simple. Um, and yeah, I mean, like, with like a specific paragraph paragraph or two prompt, you can make just about any feature possible that you want, in that type of dashboard.
Yeah, it's kind of this great democratization, right? That like
Well, I think you still need to know like what it is that you want, and you need to understand the dynamics and the um, kind of ways in which dashboards interact, right? And I think there's a lot of like UX choices that often get overlooked when you're building a complicated dashboard. So, I mean, there's a lot of like planning that goes into a dashboard, and when you're trying to prompt it, you're just building it, you're vibe coding it 100%. Um, the agent won't know what it is that you specifically want unless you specifically ask for it. And a lot of the times, even if you specifically ask for it, you'll still have to kind of mold it, as it's working on it. So, like on a busy day where I'm just like, just cranking out features, what I'll typically do, for example, like if I'm building, like when I built this BIP-110 signaling dashboard, right? First of all, I had built this dashboard originally by hand in Python, so I had that starting point, and I just passed that in and said, "Hey, make this into an interactive, web-based dashboard that I can host on my site," right? And so, like, kind of right out the gate, I had like the the visualization there, and most of the interactivity built in, because it was like good enough to understand, okay, you want to like hover over this and see, all of the data associated with that bar, for example. um, but then my entire workflow, when I'm doing this, is I've got the site running locally, I've got VS Code open on the side, and as the agent is working on whatever it's working on, I'm doing like user testing on the site and just finding bugs. And then I just pile up like a dozen feature requests or bug fixes. And then the agent just cranks through it. Right. And so I'll probably get like, you know, like I'll probably get like literally like 10 to 20 commits an hour, right? Just fucking
we could
squashing
basically
bugs
just turn
and
this into
cranking out features until I get the dashboard,
this time into like the daily stand up here, where I see if you're on track.
Wait, sorry, what? Oh, the daily stand up. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. And honestly, this is the reason why I quit, because my boss knew that I could work like this, right? Like my boss was like, I know you can fucking, you can handle like 100 user stories a day, and I'm just like, fuck that. you know, like I'm not that interested in the dashboards I'm building here, but I'll tell you what, if I quit, then by all means I can squash 100 feature requests in a dashboard I'm actually interested in building,
Well,
right? And
that's actually a microcosm of the whole AI. Like who gets the benefit of the productivity, right? Is it accruing to the man or the individual?
the man, for sure, because there's only so far you can climb the ladder being a very productive developer, right? And I think I probably had one or two rungs, like rungs of the ladder left to climb. But I was already relatively, I was a senior data scientist, so like I was already up there. And then like to get to a higher rung, you have to start actually managing projects, not only managing but proposing, right? So you're doing like much different work. You're actually doing some project management. You're doing a lot more meetings and like that type of shit. And I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to be a developer, but I couldn't get paid to do to do that. I couldn't get like any more promotions to just do that, and I was expected to be like 10x more productive, because my manager, well, the division I worked in my company was literally the AI upstart, and so like we were hyper aware of all the new models and everything. It's like we were just literally, and my entire job was like building dashboards, but my real job was like figuring out where we could inject AI into existing dashboards. So, anyways,
Yeah, I'm
it
not
just
making. Yeah,
it
I'm
got
not
to be to the point where it's just like, man, I'm working way too hard, or I'm expected to work way too hard, and I don't want to work that hard. And I'm not getting paid, really anymore. I'm getting paid plenty, but like, if I'm working 10x harder, it's like I want to at least get paid like a bit more.
So this is I'm seeing wicked smart. So I'm going to be your first fork here. So
Hey, want to do 10
Anyways, and
times
then
the
and then
work
on
for
top of that,
5%
and
more
and then
money?
on top of that, I mean, I think the real reason, so like that's like the work side of things, right? And then as everyone knows, like the real reason is, well, I've got a son who's 2 years old, and it's like typically he's just plopped down, in front of the TV or getting bored playing on his own, right? And
wicked. If I want
my
a
entire
wicked,
household works from home, so like we're here when he needs us, but if we're all like working, then he's got to like figure things out on his own, and I think he's still a little too young to like do that for the whole day. so um so yeah, that was the main, I'd say, driver. Like that's what pushed me over the edge, maybe.
These days,
Was,
don't quit. Just negotiate full remote and have your agents do the work for you.
well, that's what I was doing, but the problem is, because I had been working there for 6 years at that point, right? Because I started that job in 2020, right before COVID. um like they were starting to nudge me in the direction of like, you need to learn the business. And I would be in meetings, and it'd be like they'd be talking about something, and I'd be like, what now? And they'd be like, dude, you've been here for 6 years. you know and like, so I started, it's like that type of environment where I'm just like, oh man, fuck this shit. Like, I don't really care about this work, man. And because I've been here for so long, like I'm expected to start caring, right? And I don't want to like be the guy. Like I work hard, but I don't want to be the guy who is thought of as a pushover. Like I always got my job, I always got my work done. Um, Whatever. So I just didn't like that environment. Didn't like
Yeah, I
what was
get it.
happening at home in terms of kind of not being there for my son when I probably should be, and luckily, given my living circumstances, I felt like I had, probably enough saved to kind of weather the next cycle or two. Like I'm not going to be a big spender, doing anything unnecessary. by spending my money, but I think, it's like most people have this idea of where they think Bitcoin's going in the next 5 to 10 years. And so if my household just keeps living kind of like paupers for 5 to 10 years, I think we'll probably be fine on the other side of that. Our cost of living is extremely low. We've done everything we can to reduce it down to basically nothing.
Well, I mean, you've also got your skills, and you could be marketing as a solopreneur.
Yeah, worst case scenario, I mean, hey, if I need to, I'll get back out there and I'll hustle. So
Hey,
it's always
Wicked.
that.
Sorry to hear about your node, your LB hub. You can join now our movement officially.
What's the
You're not
movement?
gonna node, but you are noding. You are
Oh yeah.
210 noding now.
Not gonna. Is it a fork of it? Is it not gonna Lightning node?
Yeah, not gonna lightning node exactly.
That's
And
funny.
I'm just gonna trustodian
Yeah.
fully.
Hey, I mean, I'll tell you what, the trustodial model is good enough for me. Like as long as I don't have to KYC, that's all I care about. So if some sleazeball has figured out a way to, get around regulations and convince them that what they built is non-custodial, even if it is custodial, um, I'll use it for as long as it lasts, right?
Don't you feel like we have been defeated as Bitcoiners? Like the whole shit
No,
about
no, no, no.
Bitcoin peer to peer,
Because here's the
internet
thing,
money.
right? No, and I'll tell you why. Um, I can still make a peer-to-peer payment whenever I want, right? So there's nothing preventing me from using it that way. And if I need to use it that way, then I will. Right? If there's an important thing that I need to pay for where I don't want, this Spark provider to have a record of for all of time, because by the way, they know everything you're doing, and in some cases they're publishing it publicly, so everyone else knows everything you're doing. So I wouldn't do anything with that account that like I wouldn't. Anyways, you know what I'm trying to say. Um, that's really just like a place where I'm collecting tips and maybe I'll tip others, right? And that's fine. I think that that's an appropriate use. I'll never KYC it. Although if they wanted to, really know, I mean, obviously my website fucking points to it, so like I'm sure they could figure it out, but it's not a big deal. For anything else, you definitely want to be using things that aren't as publicly viewable by governments with a little bit of pressure. So I'll leave it
Yeah,
at
I
that.
get that. Um, I certainly am having so much trouble with using non-custodial stuff, and you would hope that Arc is going to be like this next thing that's going to solve it. But when you actually build an app and you see how terrible it is for the user, and you see your users losing money from their VTXOs expiring,
Oh shit, is that happening?
yeah, yeah, I mean that happened. But testers, not like when we were doing test flight.
So wait,
Um,
time out. So you say they lose money from their BTSOs expiring. So that money's literally just getting rugged into the ARC,
yeah.
and the ARC's not doing anything to like reimburse.
Yeah, they can't do anything, and they don't want to have that responsibility of doing anything.
Mm,
They want to go fully non-custodial. I'm talking about second .tech from the
mm-hmm,
guys who are doing Bark SDK,
mm-hmm.
and they're very
But
genuine. And
I thought that they
yeah,
had automatic refresh.
hey, yeah. Here's the thing about
Doesn't
automatic
work.
refresh. It's
Yeah.
actually nothing. It doesn't work. It doesn't work at all.
Mm,
I had to switch it off. A lot of people are telling me like, "What is this VTXOs? Like, we're gonna have to refresh them like like manually." And I'm like, "Yeah, you have to do it manually because refresh automatically relies on the app being open." And most
yeah.
people don't open the fucking app. They just close it because they want to save battery or like
Mm-hmm,
RAM or something. So no
yeah.
one's going to like keep it not only open, in some cases like foregrounded. Like you have to actually have the home screen showing so that it can start.
Yeah, it
Not
can't just
only
be
that,
open in the
okay,
background.
there's a stuck refresh issue. Sometimes the ASP doesn't fails in the refresh round, and your app just keeps on trying and until the VTXO expires and it dies. It keeps on trying so much and it loops until the point where your VTXOs are, especially the ones that you receive over Lightning, because they only have like a 3-day duration only.
Mm.
Like, yeah, so I, the way I designed it, I was like, okay, if you're gonna receive like Lightning and you have only 3 days, like it asks you,
Automatic,
do you
just
want
do it
to
right
spend
away,
it
right?
right now? Like, do you want to spend it right away? It's fine, don't refresh it. But like, if you're gonna keep it, you have to refresh it.
Hmm.
And it's like all of these things about like, non-custodial tech, and you think that Arc is going to solve it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Arcade, I would have to say, just Arcade is different. They're
Hmm.
using a different Arc, and also they have delegated refresh. So in
You
case
can,
that
yeah,
you're in desert or something,
you can delegate the refreshing
yeah,
to another party. Yeah,
as a
right.
last resort, yeah, it's good. I think we will have that. Like if Bark supports that, we will do it. But it's kind of like it starts to feel like a trust um, situation event. Like you have to rely on the delegate.
Hmm.
But it's honestly like, people losing money is very very bad. Like when people lose money using your wallet, it's so it's just you have to deal with dust UTXOs and change VTXOs. Um, Also, they might interfere with your refreshing situation because you might have a VTXO that is being automatically refreshed alongside a dust VTXO that cannot be refreshed, and then you get like problems with refreshing your entire like set of VTXOs. Sometimes they get stuck with the dust. It's like you just think about all of these things and you go like, okay, I'm going Trustodian. I'm going Trustodian. Fuck it. I'm going to Liquid
So,
or
yeah, I
something.
mean, yeah, I mean, so again, like, I think that these, and I don't know if they'll last forever, but we're in this period where, Bitcoin is important enough and, big enough that it has kind of these options and they work well enough that they're actually useful, right? Like Liquid or Spark or whatever, right? Or even in some cases, like straight up custodial Lightning wallets. Um, but they're only useful, I think, for you as an end user if they're no KYC, because like no one wants to be using a KYC Lightning app that is going to report every time you buy a coffee to the government, right? It's no secret that I think paying capital gains tax on a coffee payment is retarded. So if there's an app that can skirt that regulation, it's like people are probably going to use it. And so as long as that is available, then great. And then as soon as it's not available, I just hope that we have better options for non-custodial, which again will just be used to skirt the regulation in a better way. Um, but honestly, it's like I think a lot of people aren't gonna even spend Bitcoin or send it to people or tip or whatever until you get more clarity on taxes. But you're not getting more clarity on taxes until you have enough people who are mad about it and probably spending it anyways and not reporting it just because it's retarded. Kind of in the same way that like you don't get legalized marijuana until you have enough of the population just smoking it illegally, right? Like it's a chicken or egg problem. So you need to have enough people who are willing to break the law first, in order for the law to be, updated and reflect what society believes. So, if you have a belief like Bitcoin shouldn't be taxed, Bitcoin payments shouldn't be taxed. I shouldn't be taxed when I buy a coffee with Bitcoin. then you should probably buy coffee with Bitcoin and don't report it. You know, to be honest, like fuck that shit. But you need the apps to do that, right? You need the fucking infrastructure to do that. And if you're using a custodial app, you know there's risk that because they're logging everything and they probably know who you are, you got to be careful. Um, you know, but I don't know. It depends. It just depends, right? All the Spark stuff is run by like super fucking captured, you know, TradFi dudes. So I wouldn't necessarily trust like those guys. Liquid, on the other hand, I mean, you know, I think you got a little bit more leeway there, but I also wouldn't fully trust Liquid. But at least there you've got like, you know, confidential transactions. So it's a little bit more private just by default. And then, you know, probably the best option is just to fucking run your own Lightning node, manage your own channels, and do all that fucking bullshit. But most people aren't going to do that.
Okay, I forked your repository. I just did a summary. I'm asking it about just tell me what's in this repo. I guess there's a PostgreSQL database under it. It says there's data API. So oh, I guess the lady HD here, Jack came out with Buzz or something, and he said it was going to be a decentralized replacement or for Slack and GitHub. Have you had a chance to kick the tires on that?
Wait, sorry. Say that again. What was the last part?
Well, this thing, this Buzz that everybody's been talking about the last few days. It's
What's the buzz?
it's like Dorsey was showing it like the last few days. Basically, he's saying it's like a GitHub Slack thing. So I'm not going to be the first one to figure it out. So I'll wait for you guys to, if you're just finding out about it now.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, you guys are. But as far as like, you know, doing things, so I did just like fork that. Like, if I wanted to do something and then merge it in with your GitHub, is there a way we could play together? Or I would have to like, you would have to invite me to your GitHub or something, and then if I want.
I mean, if you want to make, I mean, people are more than welcome to, you know, make pull requests, and if
Yeah,
it's
and I
a
got to
good
figure out.
update, I'll merge it. Or if you want to open an issue, right? Like if you're asking for a feature, I've had people
Yeah,
just
no,
open
that's yeah.
issues, and I'll quickly code it up usually. So yeah, by all means. Or you can fork it yourself, right? I mean, if you just fork it off of my GitHub, you can just have your own fork.
Yeah, but
I'm
I'm
sure.
kind of learning and doing. So I mean, I got a mixed thing going on. So I kind of want to stay, you know, a little snuggled up next to you until I got more of my legs underneath me.
Sure. And I'm by no means an expert in any of this shit. Like I just, you know, I always shoot from the hip from in terms of being a developer. Like I kind of just I build things, and as long as they work, then you know, so be it. But I'm not, you know, by any means like what would you call it, like professional developer or anything like that. Even though I was a developer as my real job, I still was very, you know, like brute. I was a brute, you know, like I would code shit, it would work, I'd ship it, you know, probably it was ugly as fuck, but you know,
Well,
it's
yeah,
code
data
that works.
science
So,
is a little bit
What do
different.
you think we all do?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some people. I worked with a guy who was like, it needs to pass all the first test. And I was like, shut the fuck up. But you know, there's some people who are really good at their jobs, and then you're like, yeah, I'm gonna quit now.
So here's an interesting thing that you can do if you're just purely vibe coding as you described, and you like kind of don't, you're just like trusting the machine to build this thing, and you don't like know if it's creating duplicate or superfluous, you know, processes, or like, you know, it doesn't go deep enough to find that like this thing already exists this other way. So the way that you just made this is now, double. You can tell it to make a system map using Three.js. Tell it to make a simple like HTML page for you, like a system map. And like it will generate like basically like a zoomable walkthrough of your entire system. Tell it to describe all of the modules and the workflows, and you'll get like a map, especially if you're not, reviewing your code that it's or its code that it's making.
I'm just doing that now on Wicked's code.
Yeah, tell it to make a system map in Three.js. Tell it to include the JSON.
Let me just write this down. System map Three.js. Include the JSON. Include. Oh, fuck. I spelled include wrong. One sec.
I already got a cool looking map here.
Include the JSON. Got it. I'll do that. Thanks, Ant.
It'll be
Yeah,
interesting. You might find
you
a
guys
lot
are
of
so much
things that
smarter
it's
than me.
stubbed for you.
What was that?
I said it'll be interesting to see if it like, through the course of your messing with it, if it created like stubs for certain features and, and then later on, if you asked it for a feature, if it doesn't actually pick up that stub,
Oh,
we'll
yeah,
see
no,
it
for
in
sure.
the
Actually,
map.
one thing I did before I went on vacations, I did a major refactoring where, because prior to this, I had every single dashboard was standalone, but there was a lot of shared components. And every time I'd make a new dashboard, I'd be like, build this dashboard, build it, base it off of this prior one. So make it all similar, blah, blah, blah. And so it had like, a bunch of shared behaviors and components that were just reproduced code in both dashboards. So I did a huge refactoring where I like extracted those shared components and actually started, like just pointing to separate shared files so that things could be more consistent and so that it'd be much easier to build new dashboards. I haven't actually used any of that. Like, I basically made like a build new dashboard um, script that just builds it using the shared components and some general scaffolding. I haven't used that yet, but I'm hoping it's much easier because, again, the way that I would do it in the past is I'd just like feed it an old dashboard, say, hey, make this new one. This is what I want it to be. For example, like I think the last one I added was days since all-time high, right? So it's like it shows you a chart of how many days it's been since the last all-time high. See ya, Shinobi. And anyways, yeah. So like it's just a bunch of tinkering to get things to match and be, consistent across the dashboards, but it's better to have all those things pulled out and actually defined as shared files. Who knows if that worked or not? I'm surprised that the website still works after everything I did. I yanked out like tens of thousands of lines of code. Well, my agent did, and I just auto approved everything. And here we are. By the way, if anyone in the audience is looking to hire, I'm just kidding.
Wait, hey,
Don't
Wicked,
don't hire
you're
me.
not
I'll
working.
probably fuck your shit up, bro.
Wicked, you're not working now, are you? You're
No,
looking for a
no, I'm
job.
not. No, I'm not. I'm not working. I'm not looking for a job.
Well, you haven't worked for a while. I think you left your company, right?
I left a couple months ago.
Okay, but you're not looking. You're just chilling out,
I'm
hanging out.
chilling for the summer.
Okay.
We'll see where the winds take us. It's
What did
kind
you
of
get?
dependent. It's dependent on whether or not Bitcoin succeeds in, let's say, 10 years. If
What did you
Bitcoin
get?
doesn't
A really
succeed in
bad
10
job?
years, then I'm probably fucked and I have to go back to work.
what if you get a really nice job at a Bitcoin company that
or
is
like if my
working?
house burns down, then I probably have to go back to work.
Okay, can I speak now?
What'd you say? What if I get a good job at a
Yeah.
Bitcoin company?
What if you what if you get a job at a Bitcoin company that's doing something that you really love and you want to be a part, like some Lightning Labs or something like that?
So I don't think I am of the appropriate caliber of developer to work on real
Imposter syndrome.
real important projects, right? And so I think if I were to work for one of these companies, I'd probably have to start as a very low level dev, which I'm fine with, and I think it would be a great learning experience. Um, but the only way I'm probably going to do that is, so right now my wife likes her job, she likes working, she earns a good amount, but we need to have one parent, I think, you know, spending time with our son. So if my wife ever decides she wants to stop working, I might, start looking for a job again. And then in that case, I'd maybe either look for a job in the Bitcoin space and or, I mean, I've considered going back to doing some part-time astronomy research because that's where everything
It's
began for
it's
me.
it's a difficult decision, right? So one side you can go to a Bitcoin job, but you won't get paid as much or even 50% less. And the other side, it's not
Yeah.
necessarily Bitcoin,
That
it could
being
be just
said, I've
Mhm.
seen some job postings for like, positions that I don't know if I'd be qualified currently, but could probably, build the necessary skills to get to eventually. And they pay like a decent amount, right? At least compared to what I had been earning before. So I think the jobs are there, and moving forward, I'm guessing they'll be even better as Bitcoin gets larger and, kind of there's more funding in general. So I'm not too worried about like the actual. I guess one thing I'm not fully considering is I'm sure it's super competitive, um, you know, and will get even more so as more people care about Bitcoin. So that's one thing to consider. But I don't know. I mean, I think if I really, really needed to find a job, um, I would start applying to jobs in Bitcoin, and I'd also probably just start, looking in the broader market again.
So I think the jobs that is Bitcoin related and can pay a lot of money is those companies that are like have another sort of operation that generates money. So let's say BlackRock or Fidelity,
True. Yeah.
right? Because they have money to give you, and then they still have to implement or integrate with Bitcoin protocols.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those would be companies. But if you're speaking strictly to just Bitcoin related companies,
hmm
and I think those companies won't be able to pay as much because they're like building for the potential and say, hey,
Maybe, but
right?
I've seen listings on like River and
Uh-huh.
um, for Square, Cash App that are like fairly high paying. I mean, you gotta like find them.
Yeah, they're established already. If you think about it,
Right.
now the
That's the
River's pretty
that's the point. And I
established.
guess the point I'm making is like,
Hmm.
and I'm not talking about today because I'm not looking for a job today, but let's say in a year or two I start looking for a job. I would imagine there's even more established Bitcoin companies at that point, who just saw a 5 to 6x in their treasury because we're in a raging bull market again and are ready to hire. So I don't know. I mean, I think the jobs will always be there in Bitcoin, and as we scale and become larger and more important, more and more jobs will emerge, right? I mean, every financial platform is going to have to tie in to Bitcoin. So I think the jobs will be there. And if you're willing to work for a bank, then that's one thing. If you're willing to work for a financial institution like BlackRock, that's another. But then there's also like all the Bitcoin companies that are building those rails to make those plugins easier. And then on top of that, the Bitcoin companies that are just building products for like, regular people. I don't know. I mean, I'm not thinking about it too much, to be honest. I'm just off off the cuff talking, but it could be fine. Plus, I have a good amount of connections socially because of Twitter. I think I'd maybe be able to lean on that. I mean, that's one thing that I had no, um, uh, I had absolutely zero interest, and I've always kind of been this way. I'm not a very social person. I've had zero interest in the past with my jobs to make any sort of social connections or even business connections, right? Um, I didn't like reaching out to people to like work with them on things and those types of things. But I think in Bitcoin it'd be different. Like I'd be much more open to building those relationships and leaning on the ones that I've already built over the past 6 years here on this platform to try to like see if, can't find a match that makes sense in terms of work if needed again.
Hey, I got an update. My node installed knots and 110 is up and running. So I guess I've got one node now running knots.
Hey, Wicked, how do you
One
go
one node,
about
one vote, baby. Thank you for contributing to the cause, Greg.
um, he's gonna node. Um, yeah, how do you keep I mean, how do you promote yourself professionally while keeping your NIM, like by hiding behind your NIM like I do? Like,
That is a good question. So it really depends on the job that you have. I think you can remain a NIM if your job is as a developer. I mean, if you're a marketer, obviously it's probably harder to do that, although not impossible. Like Mechanic is a marketer for Ocean, and I don't know Mechanic's name. I'm sure many people do, but I don't. Right. So like I think you can largely stay a NIM to the general public while building personal relationships with the people you need to in order to get the job you are going to get, right? So like if I were to work at Square or Cash App, Miles would know who I am, right? The small group of developers there would know who I am, but probably nobody else, right? So you kind of have to open yourself up a little bit if you want to work in the industry, obviously, but I don't think you have to make, by any means, you don't have to make your entire profile public unless it is a part of your job to like be, the face of something, in which case you probably want to have your real name out there, I guess.
right. Yeah, and how are you vibe coding this? Like what harness and what model are you using?
So I've used different models at different times, typically whatever's cheapest for what it is I'm doing. So in the past, um, and it's funny because literally nobody uses it, but I was using um, uh, what's the Microsoft model that nobody uses? That sucks.
Copilot.
Yeah, I was using Copilot because it was cheap as fuck. If
That's what
you
I started on.
yeah
GitHub Copilot.
yeah. So right, I mean, and because of it, like part of the reason why I was using Copilot is because it was so damn good at actually like resolving um, Git uh, errors, and like I had a bunch of like messy
Conflicts.
Git repository conflicts, whatever, and it was
Hmm.
really good at like squashing all those things and like pulling in different commits and merging and blah blah blah. So like it was really good at that. Plus, it was super cheap. But then they changed their payment structuring from a monthly subscription fee, which I think was like $10 or something, to token usage, and so my bills started to get way higher than $10 a month. So I moved to using. I experimented a little bit with Claude, a little bit um, uh, with ChatGPT Codex, um, and I ended up landing on Codex. And I for the most part, I use like the $20 a month account. But if I'm like, if I have like one of these crazy days where I'm just constantly shipping features and squashing bugs, like 100 commits an hour or something like that. Like I think I think I had one day where I literally had over 1,000 commits. It was one of those types of days, right? Then typically I'll like drain my $20 a month, and so I'll have to bump it up to the $100 just for that month.
Mhm.
But that's not that often, right? It's usually when I'm like building a brand new complex dashboard. I think the last time that happened was when I built the Cassatius coin dashboard. That required me to bump it up to the $100 a month tier. But now I'm
Mhm.
back down to 20.
Yeah, I started off on Copilot, and then I went to
And
Cursor.
it's all by the way through like VS Code. That's my IDE, and
Okay.
then I just have that agent panel on the side open, and all I'm doing all day is literally just building up feature requests or bug fixes, because you can like pile on a good amount in that panel, and it just kind of cranks through them, and then doing a bunch of user testing on the site running locally on the browser.
Right. Yeah, so I started off on Copilot, and my last job, they got Cursor accounts for everybody, and so I kind of really got used to Cursor, which is just VS Code, plus all the big models, plus their own internal model, and SpaceX bought them recently, and now it's promoting Grok. So yeah, like that, I used like the $60 plan. And then I switched, and then I heard so much about Cloud Code, and so I tried that out for a while. So I kind of go back and forth between Cloud Code and Cursor, and now, since I want to do more Bitcoin related vibe coding, I'm trying to do it more local, uh, just so it can debug, like, because I don't know, I want to, like, I'm doing this thing right now. I took a open source, it's called Bitwatch, and so it's a way to just kind of monitor all your own wallets and addresses, and alert you. And it's really, uh, I don't know, the guy who designed it, I think has very specific setup, so it wasn't working at all for my stuff. So I don't want to be sending any of this stuff off to Anthropic and OpenAI, by accident. So, I don't know, I probably could do a lot more privately, and leverage those models, but I don't know. I just want to keep everything local when I do anything Bitcoin related. So yeah, open code plus,
Yeah, ChatGPT knows. They know I'm a Bitcoiner.
yeah, but like if you're leaking, you know, transactions and
xpubs.
Oh no, yeah, I
yeah.
wouldn't do that shit. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Now, usually what I do is I have like a virtual machine that I develop on that has like some like cold card generated xpubs or something like that I'll deposit like 10,000 sats into from one of my like transactions that is non KYC. Like it doesn't really matter because it's hard to follow. And then I can do development there, use testnet, for example, as well. And then when I actually need to interact with my stack with the final application, I can move it on to a more secure setup. And I think that gives me enough kind of flexibility in my situation to be able to get the benefits of like these closed source models, because they other than K3, they've been quite a bit better than the open source alternatives.
Do you have an agent that you deposit Bitcoin, like you give it Bitcoin and then you let it do something with it? Or because I hear all of these narratives about AI using Bitcoin, and it's like, for what? Like, what is it about? Like, what are they using it for? And like, is it really like valuable to give someone your Bitcoin, some bot?
Yeah, it's the question of what services it's going to need to pay. I think the only use case I see is, going like on Predix and just trying to like do swing trades or something on that or something.
Swing trades on Fredix.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I mean, that's a use case. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. No, I watch predicts. There's definitely some bots who are bidding on the BIP-110 side for that market, which is funny to watch. Yeah, you could do that, I guess. I think I mean, like in the future, if more people are using Bitcoin for money, then obviously AI is going to want to use Bitcoin,
I did
right?
see a
Or
service.
agents are going to want to use Bitcoin.
I did see a service that let you buy inference for Sats. I can't remember the name of it. It was a few months ago. But I mean,
I
that
think
would be
also,
something.
yeah, I mean, I think also like any services where, I mean, you're not like super concerned about privacy per se, but even if you are, like if you're paying for, for example, like a VPN, but you're paying over Lightning, that's like a pretty good use case, but that's not an agent per se doing that, although it could do it for you. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure.
You could sell, like, if you had a valuable information source, potentially
Mm-hmm.
you could use like, hey, I have like this endpoint that's
Mm-hmm.
available, but it takes sats to be able to access the information behind that endpoint.
Yeah.
That's really the way I could see like Bitcoin being used by agents, because like the agent's going to need a wallet to like automatically pay for these things. You don't want a human in the loop like every single time having
Mm-hmm.
to click like I accept or go to their cold card and sign so you can pay for this API call.
Yeah.
But again, that comes down to like the fundamental thing. It's like you have to provide enough value for somebody to want to use this service and go through that additional hoop. And then like on a large scale, can you get enough people to want to do this? Right. And then
Or have you already reached the saturation of Bitcoin users that like people are just comfortable with Bitcoin in general and using it, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you might get that avenue first. You get the actual adoption, and then comes all the benefits with that, as opposed to like you're building a kick-ass product that it's like people are going through hoops to pay you in Bitcoin because you won't accept anything else. Which maybe that in and of itself is what is driving the adoption, right? Could be.
Going back to this like thing where like Bitcoin or AI agents will choose Bitcoin because there's no human in the loop. But it's still
It's
like
the same with stable coins. So there's
yeah.
no reason why they wouldn't use stable coins, in my
Well,
opinion.
yeah. And plus you can just I mean, it's your agent, right? So it's just like you go sign up for a service, and like an open router, and you buy so many credits for tokens. It would be like that, and your agent just needs an API key to access those
Yeah, you
the
have to sign
APIs.
it up. Actually, you have to do it because they have captcha, like all of these services against like AI or something signing up. So you have to kind of do the setup for your agent first.
Right, you're right. So yeah, I guess it makes your agent more autonomous if it doesn't have to do that. If it could just buy uh, compute or tokens or whatever using Sats trustlessly. There's no setup by um, from your human. You're just doing it all, and your the agent's just doing it all by itself. So I can see that argument.
Yeah, if you
Portland.
can wire APIs and have it pay for stuff, it's useful.
Portland,
But I think
you don't use your hand.
okay. The thing I think about like specifically transactions between agents, I think at the end of the day, currently agents are servants to humans in a way. Like the agents are being used to produce value. And as such, like the hoops that agents will go through to get that source of value for the human can be incredibly difficult, I think, because they can solve these problems very quickly. And as such, like even if you have like, for example, an amazing data source that is very useful to generate, maybe like you can get some alpha when you're trading to earn more sats, but that endpoint only takes like some weird token where you got to pay in USD and it converts it to something else and it goes to something else. And like the agent will figure out a way to do it because of the fact that's what provides value at the end of the day. So it's in essence, like really it'll follow the value. The payment method is really just the unlock to that value. So if you want more agents using Bitcoin, ensure Bitcoin is being used for the highest value data sources, APIs, or services that the agents can call to get their humans more value.
So that's the new buzz. Everybody's talking about harnesses and agents and stuff. And so it was Lightning Labs, right, that did this. They came out with something, and then this Portland, had you heard about this thing, this buzz thing that's supposed to be like a Slack GitHub mashup where you invite your agents?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, I guess that's
This is Jack Dorsey. I think he did it, right? Like,
yeah. He's been hyping that the last few days, but it's all about the agents being invited to the party.
Yeah, and in my case specifically, as I'm always trying to like turn my time into more sats, I typically stay away from like the newest, latest, and greatest of anything till like it kind of trickles down that, hey, this is good enough that it's not going to end up wasting my time. Because I feel like in many cases, I've gotten burned with the early adopter tax. Like, hey, like go use this new agent or model harness, or use this IDE extension, etc. And it's like, oh, okay, here goes like 8 hours of my time, like trying to tinker with it to get it right. And it's still not right. So I'm never going to be at the forefront of this stuff. I don't even want to be.
That's smart. Wicked, you had Daniel on CSU Wildcat, and he has been sort of down on Nostr from almost day one because he was doing his own thing. But I think this new thing is, like Jack keeps coming back, it's built on, it's got a lineage of Nostr. Would do Portland or Wicked, or you guys, or is the ant still here? I don't know, he's gone, but have views on, for some reason, I think I've understood Daniel to say that it's like doomed. It's got like, fatal flaws. Do you guys have an opinion on just sort of the viability long term of Nostr as a protocol?
Yeah, I think that Nostr as a protocol is always going to survive because of the fact it is truly like decentralized in that you have like relays that store this information. But because of that, like you're going to always have UX UI issues because the fact that these relays don't have a minimum QoS, quality of service. And yeah, you're always going to have like images that aren't loading, data availability issues, relays aren't propagating messages properly. It's great for a permissionless social network, right? Because you just have to have a private key to get your public key, and you have something that you can start routing around the network with your messages. But it's never going to have that speed and just like user experience that a centralized application will have, where it is completely centralized. The resources are all harnessed in one location, one data center with the best possible hardware. Yeah, it's again a trade-off.
This is going to be
and throwing it out there, like Wicked, have they solved the messages issue where like basically if somebody gets your private key, they can decrypt your messages?
I don't know. Not that I know of. Not that I'm aware of.
I mean, if they get your private key, that's it. Like you
yeah, you're done. So there's no key rotation or anything like that.
Yeah, you're completely fucked. So
wait, there is? Is that what you just said?
No, well, and there's nips to fix that. I think they're close to getting deployed,
but it's not here today.
Right?
No, but this is better. Like this is better. If you lose your private key, you lose your account. That's it. Like it's on you. It's like losing your money. I think it's an acceptable trade-off.
Yeah, there's a lot of specialized applications for Nostr that like Lightning liquidity. There's, I forget what else. There's just a lot of like niche things that I think will be really useful. Just a lot of peer-to-peer stuff. But yeah, in terms of like replacing Twitter, like Twitter works well because it is centralized.
Because it's centralized.
Yeah.
Right.
The problem with Nostr is that you can't delete your posts. Like that's the most annoying thing.
You can. So they have.
You can request
to delete.
away.
Right.
Yeah,
It doesn't
request.
mean they
It's
go
like,
away.
but you don't really know. Like you always see it on your profile, and so, and you don't. You wonder like, are there other people seeing it or not? Like,
Right. If other
Well, it's
people
stored on the
save it,
relays.
yeah. If other people save it, if other relays save it, then of course they can just ignore your request to delete it. And if you're a really important account, like let's say that this were to become a real thing, and let's say you're like President Trump on Nostr, obviously, people are going to store everything that you post and not not delete it if you request.
yeah, you can't walk back your thoughts. That's it, man. Like it's over.
The most annoying thing is when you have a typo. You're like, God damn it! And then you're like,
The,
do I repost it?
Yeah,
Or
do I
like
repost it?
fix? And I have like multiple retarded posts. Yeah, it's really annoying.
I think one of the this is my own opinion, but one of the more frustrating things about Nostr was the amount of brain drain it caused in Bitcoin communities in 2022, 23, I think is when it started
Yeah,
really taking
that's
off.
true.
Is you lost devs to Nostr, and then you lost a lot of the really good voices in Bitcoin. I think Odell for a period of time left. You lost whoever Yegor who did all that like AI art, etc. for people's PFPs.
Jack.
You lost
Jack
Gigi,
got off Twitter.
yeah, Gigi left Twitter, and
Gigi and Jack, yeah, true. Is
it's
Gigi
like
even
that,
back?
like,
I don't think he even came back. He's still on
Who did?
Nostr only, right?
Who did?
They're Gigi.
Yeah, still on Nostr only.
Yeah,
But yeah,
goddamn.
that's kind of my opinion is that like right now X is a much more valuable platform per post for somebody to like spread the word of like Bitcoin and what it can do for humanity than Nostr, because in Nostr it seems like most people already know about Bitcoin. I like, I guess that's my own opinion, but I don't think that, yeah, it's just like it's an echo chamber.
Yeah.
No, but
Did you
I
wait, Portland? Did you see that
I
bit?
see. Sorry, but I see some accounts on Nostr that are not Bitcoin accounts. Like I can tell
Yeah,
that
there's some
you know.
there's a little bit of
Oh yeah, there are some
expansion.
accounts that definitely aren't Bitcoin that show up in my feed.
Yeah. Portland, did you see BitMEX Research? John's
Yeah, I saw.
account got fucking nuked. What's up with that? Well, BitMEX Exchange is gone, but did you see that John's account got nuked?
No, I didn't see that.
The fuck, bro?
Would they nuke the account?
I mean, I'm assuming that he nuked it because he's no longer associated. I mean,
Oh no, it's so good. It was so good. Like all the replies, all like it's it was history. Like he was
well,
documenting a lot of stuff.
he's the author of the Block Size War, by the way.
Yeah, but his account, like also like not just
Which
the book,
account
like,
was that? The BitMEX Research
BitMEX
account?
BitMEX _JON. The account name was BitMEX Research, but his username was BitMEX _JON. Yeah, gone. The fuck?
I mean, hopefully it's not like deleted. He's just suspended, like he deactivated it or something.
Well, why wouldn't he just change his username?
No, I mean it's like maybe he's not responsible for it. Like it's that you need to have a separate.
Well, no,
account
when you
for an entity.
change, typically when you change your username, well, at least maybe the new Twitter might not do this anymore, but I remember the old Twitter, the hyperlink to the username would remain the old one, but it would still link, like it would route to your new one. So they had some, way of associating username changes, But when I click on any of the posts, that I replied to him from, it's not going to any account, right?
Hero Gamer just stated in comments that John has moved to @Farside Insights. I cannot verify this though.
Yeah, it's Farside Insights now. He changed his username in July.
Really?
And it says the account is still affiliated with BitMEX.
Yeah, I guess he's retweeting BitMEX stuff, so that makes sense. I'll message
It
him.
also has the BitMEX badge on it as well.
I'll message him right now and see. Oh, never
Can
mind.
you
Yeah, no,
share it?
that's true because when I go to my DMs, it's all the DMs I sent him in the past. So you're right. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's him then. Farsight Insights. Cool, cool, cool. Oh yeah, I'm getting all the messages now. I'm finally looking. Thank you for everyone who's messaging me and telling me. But yeah, got it. Cool, cool.
Did BitMEX shut down just because it was unprofitable for their exchange to continue operating,
No,
or
I heard there was a beef with the founders or something, or somebody stole money from. I don't know. Like there's some investigation happening. Hey, whatever happened to Web 5? Do you guys remember that?
we Web3 never happened, so it's still kind of
Yeah, no, Web 5 about like decentralized identity
We
and
PIDs.
like
Yeah,
the internet becoming more decentralized and more whatever. Is it happening? Is it still?
pretty sure somebody's funding ran out.
Yeah, they're still chipping away at it, but it's turned into sort of a personal project.
Wicked, what do you think of the Bitcoin Security Consortium?
I'm not sure what that is. What is that?
You didn't see the post where I think there's like 15 million over 3 years being donated to developers over the course for 3 years donated directly to developers by some of the biggest names in the space like Coinbase and BlackRock.
Yeah, it's another attempt
Awesome.
by Big Bitcoin to capture development of Bitcoin. This is like documented in our
Can't
nonce
believe it.
documentation.
Running BIP-110.
This is textbook
Filters up.
BIP-110.
You actually are running BIP-110, right, Wicked?
Oh yeah, Portland. I was going to ask you about that. What do you think about? Did you see the post of how I got it to run on the same machine?
No, I'm assuming you shared the blocks directory. No, you can't do that because of the fact that it will diverge. No, I have no idea. Oh no, okay. Here's how you do it. You would just run it on the same machine, but you would change your ports.
Don't even have to do that. I'm just running the knots one over Tor.
Oh, so you're okay. That's fine.
Yeah. So I mean, I mean, I'm not gonna act like I'm that smart to figure these things out, but I literally just told my agent, hey, can you download the newest knots with BIP-110 enabled, seed the chain with my core chain state.
But you're still running 2 chains, correct?
Well,
Like
so
two block directories.
correct. So I said seed the knots block directory with my core directory. Prune it to 10 gigs, blocks only, and I'm only running it for this BIP-110 dashboard as a comparison of the chain state come mandatory signaling, right? So I don't need anything else fancy, and I want it to be a fairly low, as kind of a small resource footprint. So, anyways, yeah, it not only, I mean, it didn't even copy the blocks directory into a new place. It just made pointers to the core one, and then it pruned the pointers.
It did symlinks to the core blocks directory.
Apparently, yeah, because my storage didn't go down,
Oh boy.
and then it pruned it, and now I've got both. And now I've got.
You are gonna get so fucked.
You think so? Why is that?
What happens when you got so you're running 2 different block states, right? So you're gonna have, assuming it's gonna fork. Do you believe that's gonna happen or not?
It is, but now they're independent from one another.
If you're sharing the same blocks directory,
No, I'm
with a
not sharing the
symlink-
same blocks directory. I initially had pointers in IBD,
Okay.
or no, it wasn't even IBD because it literally was just, but pointing to everything up to a certain block height, and now from there onwards, it's updating, it's appending to the chain state itself, right? I mean, each are running independently now. Like they each are updating independently now.
Yeah, but there's okay. So there are basically like two things you have. You have the blocks index, which is stored in your chain state folder,
Mhm.
and then you have the blocks directory that stores the contents of the blocks.
Correct.
You're saying that you shared the same blocks directory that saved the contents of the blocks
Mhm.
up until a certain height, and then you allowed them to diverge.
Correct.
How do you do that? Do you just
Don't ask me. Fucking agent did it,
what
bro.
the? How do you? You can't just.
You can just do things, Portland.
No, I see. Oh no! I think I got it. You created symlinks to all of the blocks files that existed,
Correct.
which would be
And now
valid
all
on
the
both.
new ones are
All the new ones
divergent,
will be
or well,
written
not
by
divergent yet, but they presumably will be
correct.
at a certain point.
But inside the blocks folder of your knots node,
Correct.
it will and core node, it will create brand new non-symlinked
Yes.
block files.
Yeah, yeah. It was only
Okay.
for the initial, download.
Yeah, that's fine. That will work. That's actually kind of clever.
Right.
I like that.
That's
incredibly clever. You could
Well, it's not
spool
going
up
to
a lot.
write to the
You could
block
spool up a
files.
lot of
It's going to
nodes with
delete
that.
Thank you.
It's going to delete the link first, right?
I'll take all. I'll take all. I mean, I did direct the agent to do that, but it was in like a very like retarded way of asking. I was like, hey, can you it's like, can you just point to it? So because I don't have that much storage left. And
Feel
then I
my
was like,
vibe, agent.
and then I was like,
No,
yeah,
but that's actually like I mean like I've done similar things where I've shared a block directory, but I've never had to deal with a fork, right? Because they're all in the same. So basically, it would always be like, okay, yeah, it's always going to match.
yeah.
But that would be incredibly useful for like example, like if you wanted to spool up like 1,000 nodes, you would just have the Docker basically access like this shared folder through symlinks for existing blocks to get up to tip, and then you could just like they would each just create their own on top of it in their local directories.
Yeah.
That's freaking cool. I like that. Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
Wicked. Thank you.
It
That's
took
awesome.
took about 15 minutes to prune because that was the only part that took a little while.
What file system do you use?
Huh?
Which file system do you use?
I don't know how to answer that question. Should I ask my AI?
What are you using? Mac OS?
Oh, what OS? Yeah, Mac OS. Yeah.
What file system are you using? Basically,
I don't know what that means though. Is that the same thing as
Like,
asking what operating system?
it's close enough.
Mac OS.
ZFS? I don't know.
Yeah,
HF.
Mac OS, and let me look at what my agent told me when I
I think
asked if
doesn't
this
Apple use a
retarded.
proprietary file system like
Correct. So basically,
AEFS?
my agent was when it did all of this, it was like, oh, you're running on a Mac OS, so you can actually just use pointers. Like it basically knew that there was kind of this way to do it,
Yeah.
given my storage constraints. So I'm not sure if it would work as seamlessly on anything other than Mac.
No, it will 100%. Linux has the same thing, and so does Windows. It's like
Dope.
symbolic links in Linux.
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
means like treat this if somebody accesses something at this location.
Right. You're just
immediately
pointing to
redirect to the other spot.
Right.
And then there's hard symlinks and there's soft symlinks. So hard means if you like, it'll follow the properties of that. So like, even if you delete the symbolic link, it will also delete the file behind it, which is very interesting behavior. A soft means that you can remove like rm-rf on that, but it won't delete the underlying file.
Or a hard link, if you update the underlying file, the link also shows that it's been updated. Like if you're looking at,
anyways, doesn't it?
I'm not
Like
sure. I think a soft
symlink always
link
tracks.
I'm not. I've run into problems before, and maybe I'm misremembering. I think I'm remembering it correctly, but I think the soft link, if you looked at like update time, would always be the creation time, even if you updated the underlying file. But then hard links was the opposite, or it might be flipped. But I remember. I mean, I made a huge, um, Hubble Galaxy catalog where I had to do a lot of like linking like that, and it was problematic. Anyways, unrelated. Cool. Well, anyways, I'm glad that my computer, my nodes aren't gonna break. Thanks for confirming that, Portland.
Nope, you're good to go.
I still need all of the mempool data from you because neither of my nodes have any mempool data. I'm running them both blocks only. So I got your message.
No problem.
I think we should
Okay,
do
yeah.
some sort of live session to work out some of the details of how we're going to expose the API and build dashboards around it. That'd be cool.
I got $100 I worked for doing some yard work for a neighbor. So yeah, I'm going to put that right towards credits to build BitStream this evening. So if you want to join my space,
okay,
it's great.
I'm down.
I'm going to be using the frontier models.
Ooh. All right.
No, it was super easy.
Well, you already have all like the. Are you literally just going to be like forking Slipstream to a degree?
No, I don't need to fork Slipstream for BitStream. I can use my. I mean, both nodes are going to be stock nodes. So
okay,
it's all the UI, UX, and then I want to create the basically like that fork visualization to like give that, hey, it's okay to spend or it's not okay to spend, basically. Like both like the velocity of the knots chain is being outrun so far. Like we can conclusively decide that the winner is here, and I want to post that to X so people can have like a.
I think you should.
Trust me, bro. It's okay, but like I want to have this basically like green checkbox saying like good to spend.
So I think at the very top you should have like the chain split, like, or you should have the chain state, and so you'd have up to a certain point, and then a line indicating where mandatory signaling begins, and then that's where you'd have the split, where you have one vector going up to the BIP-110 node, and similar to if you've seen the and by the way, if you open source this repo, I could just start helping with some of the actual UI stuff on the site and just vibe code the shit out of it. But
let's go.
Like I'm thinking here, like how on mempool.space the difficulty adjustment bar has a little flashing block on the one it's working on. So you would have flashing blocks on like the ones that are being worked on. And in that flashing block, you could have the similar, like you could actually fork mempools, like immediate mempool block, like the first block that's projected to be mined in the mempool. So you'd have all that information, like how much fees is in that block, the fee spread, right? How many transactions, like you could have that kind of thing in that kind of waiting for flashing block on both sides of the chain. And if anyone pulls ahead by like if the legacy side pulls ahead by a substantial amount, I'm thinking like, you probably do like a ... and then the maybe the last mined block and the next projected block or something, right? The flashing mempool projected block. I think that'd be cool. So you'd see not only just right off the bat, you'd see how much of a lead legacy has, what the fee rate is, the range in fee rates of the next projected block for both, and then the built up fees in total for each next projected block. I mean, that'd be pretty fucking dope.
Am I thinking about this right? That like the winner of the fork really is determined by the velocity at which their chain is moving at. And my example would be like, okay, if a chain is moving at 1 block per every 10 minutes, and the other blockchain has created no blocks, I can probably assume that it's pretty close to 0% hash rate joined on one of the sides. But if if a chain is moving at like 1 block per 20 minutes and the other chain also is 1 block per 20 minutes on average, and this is a very hard metric to use because of the fact that it's so you can't get an instantaneous measurement. You would have to do like a moving average, right? But basically you can assume that, okay, 50-50, because I don't think hash rate in this situation is going to like go offline or come online. It's just going to be shuffling around. So
I agree.
My kind of my, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Yeah, so closing it out, like my thought would be that basically like a chain that is moving sufficiently fast enough, and that can be also by like how far ahead it's got, because that's a representation of velocity to a degree. Yeah, that should be able to determine like the winner. Or am I thinking about that wrong?
So I think you're probably overthinking it. Your thinking is correct, but I think the better way to predict which chain will win is to probably do um, an estimated hash rate of every pool given the last, say, 14 days or the last difficulty period of blocks. And then as new blocks roll in from each pool, you just associate how much hash rate they had in the previous difficulty period and assume that they have the same hash rate in this difficulty period to give you an estimate of how much each chain is going to have. So in other words, if Foundry finds a non-signaling block, if Antpool finds a non-signaling block, you can be pretty sure that, like, an estimated hash rate based on their hash rate from the previous difficulty is now going to be on the legacy chain, right? And then in that way, like maybe let's say Marathon got strong armed into not doing anything, so they've dropped off. Well, if they haven't found a block, and because you're doing it on a per pool basis, like it'll be pretty apparent when one of these larger pools either signals or is not finding any blocks, and it's like, okay, well, obviously they're waiting for the dust to settle, right? And I think that's a little bit more accurate way of representing it rather than.
I got an even better method.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit more work, but if you really want to understand like which pools are mining on which chains, look at the side chain emissions. So look at the blocks they're creating on the side chains that they're submitting, because guess what? They'll produce those blocks at 10 to 20x the rate of Bitcoin blocks. So you could probably get like a really accurate measurement of their hash rate.
Are those public?
Yes, absolutely. They're public chains. So you could use something like I think Fractal Bitcoin is mined by quite a few of these, and you could literally just use the block headers. Yeah, you don't even have to validate the chain. You just got to download their headers.
When you download their headers, are you also aware? Well, wait a second. When you download the headers, are you also aware of if they're signaling for BIP-110?
Yeah, because the header contains the version
on main chain Bitcoin.
Correct, but the headers must include the original Bitcoin block for that proof of work. That's what you're grabbing.
Right.
Remember, the sidechain typically has the original Bitcoin block.
Oh shit! So you don't even have to wait. You don't even have to wait for their first blocks to roll in. You can literally just
you can just watch a sidechain.
That's fun.
Yeah, and then you can determine that early. 100%.
That's dope. All right. So here's the thing. Now, build the Codex agent that
it uses that information to sell or buy,
and just fucking collapse the market as soon as you realize it.
Money printer level advice out. That is awesome. That's
because I guarantee you, the other side, who already has their agents betting on the yes, they ain't gonna be doing that. So that's some arbitrage right there.
That's some alpha. I didn't even think about using that to take advantage of like a prediction market. That's pretty cool. But yeah, sidechains, like especially if they're doing like Fractal Bitcoin, which I think like Foundry, Mara, some of the Ant are all doing, you could very quickly see those blocks start rolling in.
Yeah, no, it's too bad. So I think they may add more liquidity to the Predix market. They just doubled it, by the way. So like now your sizable bets don't move it as much, but I think if they were to like double it again or even more, then there's some real money to be made, right? Because like right now you can probably place, assuming that you're betting against BIP-110 activating, you can probably place like up to like maybe $5,000 to $10,000 of bets.
Dude, this is exactly what happened with SegWit activation on Litecoin. Fucking miners would start signaling like SegWit. As they get closer to the threshold of activation, and then Litecoin's pumping as it's getting closer to activation, and then they would just fucking dump it.
And then
They would all the threshold would just go away. And fucking Litecoin would take after that too. It was
Yeah, I don't
fucking
think. I mean,
hilarious.
I think the one benefit that we have with this, soft fork is that it's not as visible and meaningful as that one. So like, there's not as many participants who are trying to, arbitrage these markets, and they're fairly small, so it's not really worth it.
No, it's a completely different scenario because at that point there were other chains trying to prove that Segwit was a good idea.
Mhm.
Litecoin wasn't even the first one. It was like some other bullshit. I forget what it was called. But like,
But
so
but
like,
there's
people.
probably I don't know, thousands of dollars, maybe at most tens of thousands of dollars to be made with this arbitrage.
Yeah.
So
Fuck.
we'll see how it goes. BIP-110ers are no match. I'll just say that. They have no idea what they're walking into.
I mean, if they
They're not
They've
worth
fail,
been
it.
bamboozled.
Hey guys,
I mean,
I
They're
might
not.
just go back to
unfortunately,
the
it's
issue
just
that
sometimes you gotta
maybe you
make them
can't hear
pay.
me. Shit.
Yeah, what's up, Stats and Sports?
Sorry, yes. Thanks. Yeah, my first time speaking on a Spaces, so I hope that this comes through okay. When
Yep.
you and Portland were talking about the symlinks earlier, I'm not so sure that it will work. So when you check the creation date on a soft symlink, it does show the date that you created it, but the data behind it can still change. So I think you might have two different nodes that are appending to the same blocks files rather than creating.
No. So I've already checked it, by the way, and they're appending to separate directories now and have different underlying metadata. So like, I can see, for example, when blocks roll in on either side, and check differences and that kind of thing.
So the nuts node, both of them have entirely separate files back in them now. There's no more symlinks.
So actually, that's a good question. I'm not sure if I'm
I can.
guessing that up until the point where I started the nodes again, right? Because the first thing I did was I shut down my core node, and then I made the symlinks, and then I, bootstrapped the knots node with those, and then I pruned the ones that I didn't want until we got down to 10 gigs, and then I started both nodes up, and I think at that point moving forward, they begin to have their own files for
It's.
newer blocks. Go ahead, Portland.
I think I was going to say it's pretty simple to visualize. So what you did was, I'm assuming you created symlinks. Well, okay, let's back up. How does a Bitcoin blocks directory work? Basically, every 100 megabytes of blocks that come in, they get written to a new block file. So you'll start with blk 00000.dat. That'll contain like Satoshi's original Genesis block and then blocks up to the first 100. And then once they run out of that 100 megabyte space, if that next block doesn't fit in, it'll create a new blk block 00001.dat, and it'll keep going. I'm assuming that what Copilot did was it created symlinks to all of these block files that you already had in your Bitcoin core directory. But then when you went to sync your knots node, it read all of those original Bitcoin core blocks files, and that is completely okay because of the fact that blocks files are truly immutable. Bitcoin never core or any implementation doesn't go back and change them. But the next one, because remember that block file, no, you're still kind of okay. I'm pretty. Oh fuck.
Unless
So, but
the
is it
next
true
100
that?
megabyte.
Well, the
So
last.
I think it's
So
Portland.
what I have to
Portland, are
do
you
is
saying?
I have to make the last one. I have to make sure the last one is a real copy,
Well,
right?
no, basically, what you need to do is create symlinks all the way up to the block file right before the last one, because you don't know if the last one is partially full and will be
Well, that's what I'm
attempted to
saying,
be added
right?
to.
The one that's currently being worked on.
Yep. That's the only.
I'll ask my
consideration.
agent just to double check that.
Okay. What's up, Stats and Sports?
Oh yeah, sorry. So most of the time, a block is appended to an existing blocks file. You're saying, but every 100 blocks or so, it creates a new one.
Correct. 100 megabytes. Or think about it as 100 blocks.
Oh yeah,
Sure,
sorry, it could be 25
Probably
blocks.
less. Yeah.
My fear is that at some point in time, perhaps both nodes were appending through the same symlink to the same blocks file, which could do weird things.
Well, I mean, both nodes are running and fine as of right now. And, my dashboards that are doing RPC calls to the core node. Currently, I'm not doing anything to the NOS node, but I will in a minute.
You're using two different drives, right?
No, it's all.
You can do this on the same drive. This is what's so cool about it.
This is
what?
Yeah, bro.
No, this
Wait,
is
you can just do things, bro. You can just do things.
You got two nodes running on one hard drive?
You can just fucking do things now, man.
2 nodes,
AI
1
is
file.
amazing.
I would.
How the fuck did you do that?
There should be a way to get a lock on
Magic.
the file. A lock
Magic,
to
bro.
write to the file. So I think the node would start complaining if it couldn't.
Well,
if another process had it. If another process was writing to it,
what the fuck even made you think of doing that?
Magic.
You
Magical
just
thinking.
like ask LLM, can I run two nodes, and then it just told you how to do it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Are you kidding me?
You can just do things, bro.
You're right to question that.
Dude, I've tried to do that so many times. I've tried to run two different nodes on one hard drive.
Yeah, well, you weren't as smart as the agent, bro.
Years. I was like, this is not possible. Like a fucking.
I did it in 15 minutes.
That's fucking cool. That is really fucking cool. That's the first time I ever heard that.
Yeah, you should start running a BIP-110 node. It only takes 15 minutes.
Is it possible that Mac OS has some magic where it's copy on write, so that, that the file is only copied behind the scenes if a change is made, which would guarantee it's safe to do. So copy on write.
That could be true. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It might be magic built on magic.
The main thing to understand is that these symlink files that for all the previous blocks are read only. Like basically, they never get modified. And what you did was and because both Bitcoin implementations are able to sync from the same source data, you basically are saying at this block height, I am now diverging between the two implementations. Anything up to this point, we can use symlinks because nothing changes ever in that block directory.
If you're using two different implementations, I'm assuming you should be able to use two different versions of core too, right?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Why not?
So you
could run the newest version of Bitcoin Core, and you could run version 26.
Well, Mr. Hodl, Wicked just did the fork safe.
Cool.
Mr. Hodl, Wicked just did the fork safe version of what I've done in the past, where you can create 1,000 Bitcoin nodes by literally just sharing the same blocks directory. I'd never shared the individual symlinks before. I always just shared the entire directory with all the nodes. But because the fact the nodes would always follow the same chain, it was completely okay because the blocks directory would always be consistent. But in Wicked's case, you are going to fork at some point. So what he did was, I'm not going to take the whole blocks directory and share it. I'm just going to share up until this moment. And then after this moment, we can then split the two off because inside each block directory, you have all the symlinks, but then as they will add their own independent files that are not symlinks that contain these new blocks.
Fuck, that is really fucking cool. Can you let that thing write you a program that does it automatically, or
This is something that Start9 should do, to be honest, so you can run both nodes together.
Fuck, that's really fucking cool. Well, I don't know why I'm so blown away by this right now, but I am.
No, it's genuinely media IQ. That's a pretty good one. I've never thought to use the symlinks to the blocks files.
In the advanced course, I did get my little MyNode cooking with a NOTS implementation, and I just went in and installed an agent at the command line. So I should be able to do all the stuff you're doing too, right? As far as just start talking to it conversationally, and it's got all the data.
You got an LLM running. I'm guessing, you could do whatever the fuck you want now.
My statement to that is if you are going to be using an LLM with Bitcoin,
this is all
prepare for the worst.
De minimis amounts, that work.
Yeah, just literally, you could lose your money, you could lose your node.
This is I wasn't around for Block War, so this is this whole thing has been a learning journey.
Well, I just fucking learned something. I did not know that you could fucking run two nodes on one hard drive. That is cool.
I mean, yeah, that's the symlink thing is pretty cool. I like that a lot.
I gotta talk to my fucking agent. I'm doing this. I don't got time today because I'm going to Pumpkin, but
When will the
tomorrow
number
I'm
Wicked? When will the
doing
number
this.
of like people that don't support BIP-110 building applications to monitor and like analyze BIP-110, running BIP-110 nodes exceed the actual number of BIP-110 nodes from BIP-110 supporters?
I have a feeling, dude. There's a bunch of people that are running BIP-110 nodes that are really Bitcoin Core supporters. They're
I mean, I
pumping the
have
numbers up.
one.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have one. They're pumping those numbers up, and I am pretty sure you're gonna see a bunch of nodes just completely die on Flag Day. Like you'll just
So,
see them
I mean,
go kaput.
if you look at, I'm actually the one thing I'm confused about in Portland. I'd be curious what your opinion is on this. But if you look at Luke's node count stats, which is what I've been
Are
using
those stats
primarily.
open source?
No, of course not.
Okay, then I can't tell you. It's all closed source.
Well, no, but here's the point, right? And it's like I think there is some incentive for him to lie about it, but at the same time, there's incentive for him to try to not allow Sybil attacks of, well, primarily of core nodes, but then also like you probably don't want to get a false signal, right? You don't want false hope. So if there's like a spike, you would presumably try to remove it. Although if you look at his counts, you've seen like some pretty substantial spikes in both knots node counts in the past, and then more recently in BIP-110 node counts. And what's weird is like someone's going to look at it right now. By the way, this is also on my site, Greg, if you want to follow along. But wikismartbitcoin.com/node_count. It's all based on Luke's data. But the weird thing is like, okay, you had kind of what looked like, like a grassroots adoption of BIP-110 nodes. It's kind of going up and to the right, but there's some variance. It's wiggling around, right? Blah, 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 blah. It goes all the way there until March of this year. And then it shoots up. It goes up like 3,000 nodes in a day. You're like, okay, that's weird. But then it kind of like,
I think it was when Start9 released their BIP-110 client.
yes, yes, that's true. That's a good observation. However, the part that's more weird is from February to March, you saw this like this kind of march up in non BIP-110 knots nodes.
That was a whole different set of Sybil attacks going on.
That went up about 5,000, and then as soon as Start9 released their ability to update, you got that spike. So maybe the spike was real, but the weird part is this: over the next 2 months, BIP-110 was obviously Sybiled because it went up by 20,000 node counts, like in a pretty crazy spike, right? It just like spiked up 20,000 in the matter of months. Then it collapsed. It collapsed back in kind of end of April, beginning of May. And when it collapsed back down to the point prior to that. What you said was the Start9 update. It collapsed back down
Yep.
to. Are you looking at it right now?
No,
Okay.
I just remember this graph very
Yeah,
very thoroughly.
it literally
It's
collapsed back
been
down. So in other words, like if you just draw, like if you say, okay, all of that shit was Sybil, right? It was fake because obviously I don't think
it's Sybil.
there's not very many
It's
people.
like the split personality, Sybil, right? Not Sybil.
Sybil, sorry, whatever. I say Sybil, you say Sybil, tomato, tomato. Sybil. Okay, so if you just chalk up all of that craziness to a Sybil attack, and you just draw a line from before that first spike to where it collapsed, it's basically flat. So it's flat
Yeah.
from March to June, which makes sense because I guess there wasn't much activity at that point. Things had kind of died down. There was no signaling, so Um, Oh, sorry, I already went my son. Give me a second. I'll continue this thought in a minute.
Hey, Portland, speaking of Start9, what TLDR is Matt Hill's reason for going 110?
Oh, I don't follow Start9 at all.
They just want to provide users the option to do
Oh,
what they
they
want.
do.
Like
Okay.
that's probably.
Are they counseling people to go one? Because he's sort of been like the highest profile commercial advocate, I would say, seemingly. Does that anyone know, Mr. Hoddle?
I know a little bit about that.
Okay, can you say more?
Yeah, if you look for proof of keys on X, there is like a quite interesting discussion between proof of keys, which is Keegan McClelland, which is the brother of the CTO, or he's co-founder of Start9, left in 2022 to do more protocol development. He's the brother of
Matt Hill?
no, the CTO of Start9, also McClelland.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that would.
And the proof of keys, he is strongly against BIP-110. And the reasons are outlined in the whole discussion. Just look it up. It happened like yesterday or the day before yesterday. And he was in the space here yesterday, and he kind of said, not really, but kind of, that it's mostly a commercial thing. They, on a technical basis, Matt believes in self-sovereignty, user choice, and as Start9, the company, they are providing that. And I think the whole BIP-110 play is just marketing.
Interesting.
Portland. I was going to say that like it is objectively clear that being in support of BIP-110 from a monetary perspective for your company has been incredibly, like maybe not all companies, for Start9 specifically, has been a incredibly good way to sell at more nodes. They have sold more nodes. Like they were sold out, raised prices. Okay, congratulations. People are still buying more nodes. They were the first ones to basically jump on board with like, hey, we are going to offer a BIP-110 turnkey solution install for our users. And they basically like leaned in incredibly hard. I don't even, regardless of if they counsel their users or not, I think it's very easy to tell that they do favor today BIP-110 as an implementation, kind of nerfing and not fixing specific issues with, like, for example, Core. They literally won't let users install through their app store Core 30 or higher because of a naming bug that could have been solved. Instead, it's like, oh, hey, you have to run this outdated version of Core or not. And in the new Start9 OS, you can jump now to Core 30 or higher. But still, like during the time where there's like lots of turmoil, they weren't even like really giving core users the option to kind of move forward. It was kind of, yeah, there's a bias right now towards BIP-110.
You know what the main problem is there. I've been following and working with Start9 for a long time now, and the main problem there is that the current operating system 0.35 and the whole marketplace infrastructure around it is not updatable anymore. It's based on an old Debian release. They can't really patch it. And that all happened already before the whole NOTs versus Core drama. And they were in the middle of developing their next version 0.4, which has been delayed already for like 2 years. And for them to invest the time to go back into 0.35 and the whole marketplace infrastructure they have in place for that is so much work because everything broke. It was still based on Debian Bookworm. I tried to update some packages there, for example, and I had to pin certain older packages from the Debian archive to be able to update, for example, the Tor daemon there, hack around it. So yes, it is a bug due to some naming conflicts. And personally, I would have liked to see just Bitcoin NOTs when it was included in the marketplace as its own identifier. And then other services that depend on a Bitcoin node could like choose, hey, do you want to use Bitcoin Core or Bitcoin NOTs? They chose not to because they are 99.9% the same, basically the same API interfaces, the same block structures, everything. So it's basically you could switch it around and all the dependence around it, mempool space, Lightning implementation would just work. And by the time the whole drama began, the operating system 0.35 and the infrastructure around it, the registries, etc., are so old they couldn't patch it anymore. So that's why they, in the beginning, tried to be very transparent about it on X, like, hey, do you want to update it to Core 30? Well, since there is no NOTs 30, switching is hard, so you have to sideload it. They were very open about that. And then the whole, well, first the filter discussions and then the whole fork discussions happened. And they kind of leaned into it, I think for two reasons. And Keegan explained that a little bit yesterday as well in this space, is they are entirely for user choice. So if they see in the market, oh, users want this, yeah, well, we provide it. And they have some history with the whole BIP-110 camp. I mean, a mechanic.
Chris Guida and Mechanic both work for Start9.
Exactly. So they are closely related. But on a technical level, I can say that their CTO, which develops the OS, etc., he also doesn't agree with forking off. And yeah, that's what Keegan was trying to explain yesterday. So yeah, and I am a happy user of StartOS and build on it. I hack on it. I maintain some packages for it. But I'm running Core and trying out libbitcoin last couple of days.
Libbitcoin's pretty cool. It's super fast.
Yeah, well, I have some issues with that still, but I'm trying to figure that out. But the nice thing about what's currently happening, is that so many users are gonna learn how Bitcoin works, and by having bought a server, which is not a node in a box, it's just a server. It doesn't come pre-installed with any Bitcoin software or Lightning software, whatever. It's their first experience with owning a device and trying to self-host something in an easy-to-use user interface. So for a lot of users who are falling into the trap of BIP-110, they will learn, they will get over it, and then they have a device sitting at their home that they can use for their own Nostr relay, the Nextcloud, Bitcoin nodes, Lightning implementations, and whatever. So I think in the end, it will be a plus.
Is there a more concise technical explanation as to why specifically just like a version update to Bitcoin broke the Start9 3.5 app store as to not be able to include it? Because I still don't understand, like, when I as a software engineer seem to be able to solve nearly every problem, and a naming problem seems to be something that is typically very easy to solve. I just don't understand what was the true blocker to not being able to add that, or why couldn't they work on a script or something? Because, like, for example, the current 110 client, they just had a consensus bug discovered by Datham Pone, right? And so they come out with like, hey, like, we just created a set of .sh scripts that helps you like figure out your node, and if a fork happens, get back on the right side. I want to know the real reason why they can't support Bitcoin Core version 30 or higher on Start9 OS 3.5, like the exact mechanism of action.
Yeah, the underlying reason is that StartOS has an SDK that you use to package
upstream
software. which adds and integrates more with the OS. So it's not like, oh, this is like a Docker Compose file with a few ports like Umbrel does and an additional script, and then you run it. You can really integrate into the backup system, into the user interface, into the registry. And one of those things in your manifest of a package is what you describe is your unique ID. So your package ID, which was for Bitcoin Core was always Bitcoin D. Then other packages can specify dependencies. So for example, mempool space needs at least a Bitcoin node.
So they need a Bitcoin D, basically.
You need an indexer
Yes.
as well.
Yeah, and you point to that with a specific unique ID, like, hey, I depend on a different package, just like normal package repositories work. So mempool space depends on Bitcoin D. And then the system knows, oh, you have Bitcoin D installed, and Bitcoin D has certain health checks. Mempool requires the health check synced to be green because you need a sync node, and that whole infrastructure was already there. Then NOTs came along, and they realized, well, NOTs is just an in-place replacement for Bitcoin Core. You could just replace it and everything still works. So they decided then, when NOTs wanted to be published on their registries, if you name your package also Bitcoin D, then all the dependencies around it will still work because it thinks it's just
because it's looking for that box, and that box has the inputs and outputs needed.
Yeah. The only thing is the registry system doesn't, the old one at 035, doesn't support publishing different types or variants of packages that have the same unique ID because, yeah, it's a unique package ID. You can't publish them twice. So that's why Core was always on the main Start9 registry and Bitcoin Nodes on the community registry. That created a problem UI-wise, because if you go to that registry, because it's still the ID Bitcoin D underneath, the registry thinks, yeah, you have Bitcoin D installed. You are looking at the community registry where Bitcoin D has a Bitcoin Nodes logo and description. It didn't know what variant that is. With 040, they built a specialized system so that multiple variants of different compatible packages can use the same unique ID to satisfy other dependents.
Yeah.
And just like I said before, they could patch it, but it was already so far along, and they were already full on developing the next version of the OS, which is basically a full rewrite. They never took the time to go back and really fix it, because it was kind of a hard thing to fix, because you need to fix the underlying OS, the registry, the SDK. If you update the SDK, make their changes, then all upstream packages also needed to be updated. And initially, if some may remember, they planned to release StartOS 04 like last year in July. And that already was delayed. So it's delay on delay on delay. And they never went back to 035 to fix this, because that was just technically infeasible.
But like,
maybe if you have like 5 developers full time working on it, but yeah, they have like 2 or 3 senior developers working on it, fully focused on the new StartOS version, the router, packages around it. So yeah, that's basically the reason. So technically, yeah, it could have been fixed commercially or time-wise. Maybe not.
I think though, like, my question is like to get to the exact like mechanism of action, and kind of where I potentially lost it was you basically described like, okay, so you have like different packages that create dependency names that other things can call for. So like mempool can call for Bitcoin D. Okay. So now you have like a community version that uses Bitcoin D's namespace, and then you have the primary app store's Bitcoin D, which is Bitcoin Core. Why did moving Bitcoin Core up to 30 break that namespace so it wasn't usable, or you couldn't, like, why did it basically, yeah, what was the issue specifically? Was it like, do the namespace have different dependencies internally that they use that can't be shared? Because it seems like to me, like, I could install Bitcoin Core v30 and
it has to do again with how the underlying OS deals with package management, upgrades, migrations. It allows migrations when you upgrade a version, but it also allows migrations when you downgrade a version. So if they would have published Core v30 or 31 on the main registry, and someone wanted to switch to NOTs, they first would have to downgrade 2 versions of Bitcoin to revert any possible migration between 29 to 30 to 31. Then you're on 29 again, and then it would allow a switch to the same version of basically the same package, which was already kind of a hack, to NOTs. But NOTs never got up to 30. So it's super weird, but
that doesn't, I still think that's kind of like I'm glad you explained it that way. That makes a lot more sense in terms of like the logic. If I don't want to patch anything or do anything, I still really don't quite understand why you can't. There's got to be some way, especially with like agents, to deal with this, like potentially like marking the internal version as like, I know we're running Core v30, but just mark it as a package as 29 so we can side grade or whatnot. But my bigger kind of thought about that as like from the perspective of a company that provides solutions for its users and giving them choice, why would it be acceptable for one version of software to essentially stall out other versions? Like, let's say I created a Bitcoin implementation and it was Portland Core and it got listed on the Start9 community store, right? And let's say NOTs upgrades to NOTs 33 or something in the future. I'm like, I'm not going to follow these guys. I don't want to be a part of this.
Yeah, and I agree.
Does that mean I get the right to stall out the rest of the users from getting those updated versions that are more secure and have like all these patches backported to them? I feel like that's really interesting. That's all.
I think based on what happened, they wouldn't have allowed something to happen again because it created also so much technical debt for them.
Yeah.
That the best decision back then, when NOTs wanted to be released on the marketplace, would just call it Bitcoin D NOTs, and then tell mempool space, Lightning, and every
to support
other
both
to add a drop down where you can say, oh no, use Bitcoin Core or use Bitcoin NOTs. That would have been the perfect solution. And now with 040, they actually built a solution in the SDK that allows you to create variants to satisfy other dependencies based on a unique ID. So if you are implementing an alternative Lightning node and you say, well, it uses the same database as LND and the same interfaces as LND, but it's a complete rewrite in Rust, whatever. You could publish it as LND, but as a different variant. And in the new OS, they built a whole infrastructure for that to not run into that again. But yeah, the main point was that they theoretically could fix the bug, but just didn't have the manpower to go back so far.
Yeah, that's fine.
They probably thought 040 was on the verge of being ready, so why waste time on the old solution?
Yeah, but they've run into quite some issues and new IDs they wanted to implement because, they even communicated publicly that it would have been released last year. But they actually have a hard deadline now because in September, the Tor version that 035 is using is gonna stop working on the Tor network. So all 035 nodes that are using Tor after September I think, will be kicked off the Tor network.
That's not good.
Yeah, well, and I know how to work around it because, yeah, I just SSH in, pin some packages, etc. But of course, that's not doable for the target audience they have. So yeah, there's, I think it's close. The release.
Wicked, your hand is up as the host.
So, I mean, I don't want to interrupt the conversation. It's still relevant. And then I just wanted to finish the point I was making before I had to step out. Bringing it back to Luke's node count dashboard. So we left off, there was a huge spike. It collapses. It
And then you watch the
basically,
graph and it's basically flat.
it goes, yeah, but if you kind of draw the lines between where it first began to spike to where it collapsed, it's basically flat for a couple of months. So you say, okay, it had plateaued during that time. But then the weird part is from that point, which
The
is,
linear node
yeah,
count
yeah,
increase.
from May 1st, like literally May 1st to today, it's been nearly perfectly linear growth, like with very, very little variance. I mean, it's super weird. It's like perfectly linear. It's gone
What if
from about 7,000, and today, it's grown linearly, and it's up to about 15.5 thousand. So it's more than doubled in a almost a perfectly linear fashion. Now, when I see this, I'm like, okay, that's not natural. I believe that there is growth in nodes, especially like recently, as we've seen a surge in conversation around BIP-110. Like, I'm guessing there's probably more real people running it, right? Gotta be, just by nature of like how things work. um, so there's got to be some real growth, but like linear from the point of a Sybil collapse just seems way too weird to me. And then the question that brings up in my mind is, Luke has an algorithm that a proprietary algorithm that he uses for estimating non-listening nodes, right? He derives some factor from the listening to the non-listening in whatever way he does it. These are counts of non-listening plus listening, but it's primarily driven by the non-listening. I think it's like, I don't know if it's a simple scaling or if there's other inputs. I'm guessing it's more complicated than a simple scaling, but regardless, the point is there's two things that are either causing this, and I think it is algorithmically driven and a proper, it's like it's not real, right? So it's fake node counts and algorithmically driven in order to keep it linear. So the question is it somebody literally watching Luke's dashboard and then running an algorithm that says, I need to fill in the gaps and like keep the growth linear and spin up Sybil nodes to keep it growing in a linear fashion, which is super weird? Or is it literally just Luke padding his own counts? Because that would be a much easier approach. And so he has on when he's running his whatever he's running on his, I guess it's not a DNS seed anymore, but whatever node he's running this on, which is
it's a
presumably
DNS seed for knots still, correct?
True. Okay. So yeah, when he's running these node counts on whatever node he's running it on, he's getting the actual counts and deriving this kind of total count for each bin or each bucket. To me, it seems like to create such a unnatural growth, Occam's razor is that Luke's doing it.
There could be like another idea. How long until a node is considered offline on his count?
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Everything that goes into these counts is proprietary.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any publishings on how he comes up with these counts, how he's connecting to nodes, yada, 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 right? I mean, nobody knows.
What about like, could you prove that somebody like even on this stage today isn't just like sharing a data directory amongst a bunch of Tor nodes, and then that's going into the count?
Could be. Yeah, I mean, the problem is that, so you're saying that person is sharing this, but also accounting for real growth so that it stays linear. So like sometimes they pad it a lot, sometimes they pad it a little.
Or you could just continuously just add more nodes to your infrastructure, like, right?
No,
All you got to do is
but it
like,
can't be that's the problem, right? Because it's accounting for the real variance, like the underlying. It's almost like,
I see what you're saying. Like, because there are real nodes, if you just add 5 a day,
yeah,
you would end
then
up with like,
you're still going to
is
get the
it truly
variance on
perfectly
top of
linear
that.
though?
It basically is, bro.
Okay,
Yeah, here, let me post I'll post my latest
sure.
post
Thank
on
you.
it, and you'll see it. You can also just go to wickedsmartbitcoin.com/node_count, but that's a mouthful, so let me find it.
What I think the more interesting metric, instead of non-listening nodes, what do the node counts look like for actual reachable nodes?
Yeah, I wish he
like that.
I wish he parsed out those stats.
Correct.
I don't think he does on a individual node basis. Now, that being said, Portland, here's an opportunity because for you, by the way, I'm pretty sure this dashboard's going to break once mandatory signaling comes because his node will presumably like
It's going to ban a bunch of peers.
it's going to
right?
ban all the core nodes as well as all the old NOTs nodes. So literally the only thing left on this dashboard at that point will be the BIP-110 nodes. So if I want to keep this dashboard running, which, it's like, I know like node counts it's a pretty hand wavy metric. I think there's some underlying signal in it, but what's more interesting to me is actually the Sybil. I like seeing the Sybiling. Like I want, it's like if someone's doing that on purpose, I want to see it because that almost tells the more interesting story to me. But I think in the node counts, especially if you're like separating out, core V30 plus nodes, NOTs nodes that are non-BIP-110, and then BIP-110 nodes, the real information you can gather from it is when you see like, okay, NOTs nodes are going down, BIP-110 nodes are going up. That's like a pretty, I'd say real signal, right? Assuming that
Yeah.
it's not just the Sybil NOTs nodes going down, which are converting into Sybil BIP-110 nodes. Of course, that could be a real explanation as well. But I don't know. Like I still like seeing it, even though I know it's like not super important.
I think
Now,
node count is such an incredibly poor metric to base anything off of other than data availability on the network. Like
correct. Yeah.
It's like how in the same way that like politicians will go up and they will talk about their crowd sizes they are able to
Yes.
achieve, right? Like
Yes.
it's the exact same vibe. Like, look I have this many people attending my speeches, and like, look at how many nodes running. What the fuck does that mean? Like, it doesn't like, and it's even worse because at least when the politicians go out and they say this many people showed up, you could take a photo of the people and you can count them. Nodes, it's like,
Yeah.
you can't even tell right now if somebody on
Well,
stage is running a bunch of nodes.
it'd be like
Sorry.
if Donald Trump said, "Look at how many likes my social media posts get."
Yeah, like it doesn't, and I own the social media platform. Like, it doesn't mean anything,
Right.
and that's what like node count is like the worst dick measuring contest in all of Bitcoin. Like I don't understand why people do it. It's the same thing as a programmer who goes, "Look at my 5,000 GitHub commits,"
Yeah.
and every single commit, like
I just committed 1,000 commits the other day. So
yeah, they're all private commits. Like, okay, what did you commit? Was it anything valuable, or did you just update the same text file with another space? Right?
Oh no, it was valuable.
Or okay, I get it. But my point is like, I really just don't like node count as a metric because nobody ever can give me any quantitative information about it. Like they can give like, I guess like actual. You can give the counts, but you can't derive the sources that those counts came from. You can always like, and that's because, okay, like, sorry, I'm working through this in my own head. Like the true question is like, what is a legitimate node? I think it comes down to like, are you going to count all nodes as completely Oh my goodness. Okay, so this goes even further because really what this is doing, it's showing that there are nodes that are valuable and there are nodes that aren't, right? Because otherwise we would, if all nodes were equal, one node, one vote, we would count all nodes regardless.
Mhm.
But because
and then we
some
would
nodes,
have billions of nodes.
exactly, 100%. But because some nodes would be considered like cheating per se, right? Like Sybil nodes would be like a way to cheat a node count if you were truly measuring one node, one vote, because one user, it's a mess. Like that the node count metric is just I'm not going to
we
entertain it
need.
anymore.
You know what we need? We need voter ID. That's what we
Yeah,
need.
do you know what that is? That's called an IPv4 address. Like I think that like my only way I've come to accept like a node count as a metric is if the nodes are on ClearNet. I know like private like and it I guess it disenfranchises the privacy node operators, but at least there's a cost to running an IPv4 node. At on average, an IPv4 address
But
costs
Portland,
$5.
can't we just make decentralized ID on Bitcoin and then
No,
everyone?
no.
Why
Please, no
not?
more soft forks. Not until
Daniel
next year.
wants to. Daniel wants to do it.
No more soft forks.
Well, we have the
Bro,
six.
what if we soft fork in a governance mechanism that's based on decentralized ID, and then we all get equal votes? Democracy.
What about like what if it's like proof of fees,
Proof
like the
of
activation method?
proof of human.
No, Wicked. I got an
Just
idea.
kidding, because you
So-
can't even. Just look into this orb. All right,
Yeah, Retina.
just look into this orb.
So what about Wicked? What do you think of this idea? What if like you could signal for a soft fork through fees? Essentially, like you could put in your transaction, like maybe flip like a version or a time lock bid or something
That's
like
what I
that
was
in a way
thinking.
that's safe. And then you could like pay fees on chain. And then basically like if blocks or like per 4 million weight units, or you could use some metric like that, are more than 90%.
Well, not only that, but you would see the fees associated with a signal as well as the movement of coins. So you would know like, oh, this motherfucker moved like 1 million coins and signaled support as well.
Yeah. No,
It'd be
it would be a
interesting.
terrible
credits, too.
metric because
Well, that could also be gamed, but if you were
Yeah.
using ordinal theory, then you wouldn't double count. We're just going down. This is the most
no.
degenerate, retarded
This
idea.
is amazing. This is awesome. No, that would
No double
disproportionately
counting.
give this would give older hodlers though like a massive influence on.
Well, older hodlers already have a massive influence, whether you like to admit it or not. So
No,
yeah, they
no,
do.
that's not true.
What you're saying? Roger Ver didn't prop up Bitcoin Cash's price for way longer than it should have been.
No, I'm joking. What's up, Ant? Good to see you.
Hey, what's happening in Portland?
Oh, just hanging out. I'm currently writing some tests right now. I'm not writing the tests. These are done via my agent.
Yeah, I'm working, just listening, push an update.
Elon, like however many nodes there are in like the world, could he spin that up by the end of the day today? As many?
Yes, 1000%. You could double the if you truly wanted to spend the money, you could absolutely just double the node count. Like
Already happened. Wasn't that the BitNodes guy or something who leased whole ranges of IPv4 addresses and did that Sybil attack just to prove a point?
I don't know about that, but that would be a fantastic. Is there any evidence or like an article like describing this or like the process? Because like I would like that as like part of my Bitcoin history toolkit.
I need to look it up, but there was some conversation on X and a link to like a GitHub post, I guess. That explains also the peak in Wicked's dashboard, that large.
Oh, that was the person who was fucking with it.
Yeah,
but
he used like a couple of nodes and split them up over a whole lot of IPv4 ranges.
Yeah.
So he just had to pay for the IPv4 addresses and not spin up like thousands of actual nodes.
And that was the one that usually, like, I feel like Mechanic typically is he references that one when he says that this type of Sybil attack is expensive, because I think that guy ended up paying a decent amount to do that
Yeah.
particular type of Sybil attack.
I mean, IPv4 addresses on average are $5. Like,
Yeah. So if
yes,
he,
there can be cheaper
so if he,
or more
so if he
expensive.
did, if he did a Sybil attack that was pretty much, was it like 20,000? That's a lot. I mean,
Yeah, that's 100G if you're purchasing IPv4 addresses. And maybe there's bulk discounts for blocks. I'm not sure, but that's
what I mean. That's
Yeah.
that's kind of expensive.
From what I remember, he posted about it to Core, but Core kind of ignored him. And then the whole BIP-110 stuff happened, and he thought, oh, well, now I can actually make my point. And then he made his point.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can just do things.
Yeah, you can just do things now. Cool. By the way, here's what I asked. So, by the way, this is kind of the way that I ask things. So you're going to get a little insight into how retarded I am. I asked my agent, is the core and knots nodes now appending to separate files in their respective directories? And are the pointers still present for the older shared files? And my agent said, yes, core is writing to this folder. Knots is writing to this folder.
Tell them to build you a system map in Three.js in a single HTML file. Wicked.
They have different inode, inode. They have different inode. What the hell is inode? They have different inode numbers, so they are not.
inodes are the
Inodes are like the clusters of the file system here, or ext4.
It's a reference to like where the file exists.
Cool. They have different inode numbers, so they are not hard linked shared as the same file. For the older cloned files, yes, because we used APFS clone on write, the BIP-110 copy can still share underlying disk extents with the original core files where unchanged. Yeah, so it's because it's the clone on write, right? The APFS clone on write, that when it changes, then
it will clone the file and
clones it
replace it.
Correct. Yep.
So, but okay, so you clone on write, but you're never going to do that, I don't think, because Bitcoin's never going to change that block directory. Like those are read only.
No. Well, you do when you're running both nodes, right? They're going to new blocks are going to come in at different. I mean, and you might even get different blocks, right? Depending on, like, if one's over Tor, maybe it's gossip of its peers is there's a chain split and it gets a different block than the other one, right? At least temporarily.
Yeah.
So of course it's going to have, it will have differences both in terms of the times that the blocks come in, and then maybe even in terms of the blocks that come in temporarily, at least.
Yeah.
So that last BLK file should
on
be different
the divergence. It will clone on write.
Not only the divergence, but the very first block that comes in once you start both nodes up again. Because each node is independently writing to its own block directory. Yeah.
And the metadata for when that gets written is
also
Bitcoin
different.
Core.
I don't know where does the metadata stored? Like, how is it a log file or what?
No, the metadata, a blocks directory doesn't contain any metadata. It's literally the entire blocks data just tacked on to the file itself. And that's why I'm asking, because my point would be that if both core and knots receive the exact same block, after you've cloned the symlink, it will be writing the exact same data to disk.
Assuming that there isn't a temporary chain split caused by network latency.
Yeah, correct, 100%. Okay. Yeah, I just, okay. Yeah, if you're writing to it, it's going to clone. It's just going to create a clone on any write. So yeah, it'll automatically do that.
Cool.
It doesn't matter if the data is the same.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
So we Gucci. All right, cool. And it looks like Knots was pruned. It's only got 68 BLK files left in it. Pruned down to 10 gigs.
So it pruned the symlink files away.
Well,
which
not
didn't
all
prune
of
the
them, but
original.
most of them, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. But your original node retained everything, but it pruned off the symlinks, which is
Correct. Yep.
pretty fucking cool. I like that. That's awesome. That was like some big alpha today.
You're welcome.
Hey,
Dude,
we're all learning, man. We're all learning.
Hey, I mean, I guess I should say thank you to the agent that's like probably a million times smarter than me.
You should tip your agent. Give him some extra fiat.
You know, one day I bet there will be an agent
No,
that
I
is a
agree.
freelancing agent, you know, and like you can
Yeah.
tip it if it does a really good job, and that'll incentivize it to like work harder, you know. It'll start to like you.
What was the constraint? Did you just say I don't want to double my block?
So actually, I didn't even say that. If I'm being honest, right? I can't take all the what do you call it? I can't take all the what's the word I'm looking for? Credit. Thank you. No, I just said. So I originally said, "Hey, I want to run a BIP-110 node on the same machine. Can you base it off of the core blocks directory, so that you don't have to IBD all over again?" But then do it in a way where it's not going to fuck up any of the RPC stuff. It's not going to fuck up any of the networking. And then it was like, sure, yeah, that's possible. Let's put it in this new directory. All and then it actually started to like go down the path of planning to clone, like or copy, just straight up copy. But then it was like, actually, looks like you've only got 400 gigs left of storage, so I'll just do pointers instead, and then went down that path. So it kind of figured that on its own after looking at how much storage I had left.
Sweet.
Wasn't my idea, I'll be honest.
Is that intelligence?
But it was seeded from my idea. I mean, I don't know, man. I guess like everyone up here seems to be pretty blown away by how it fucking did that. So maybe it's pretty smart. Kind of crazy. Honestly, like these are the types of things. If you had told me these things would be happening today, like 3 or 4 years ago, I would have been like, yeah, you're high as shit, bro. And now it's like literally haven't written a line of code in over a year. I just tell robots to do things for me. Not only do they do them, but they like figure out how retarded I am. And they're like, actually, I don't know if you know this, but I can't do that. But if, if I use pointers, I could. It's probably way better design anyways, you stupid human.
Maybe we're blown away by this shit because we're getting dumber.
Well, that's okay. That's a good point. I think, and I've admitted to this. I'm very retarded, right? Like I'm very lucky to have gotten to the point where I have, and I think a lot of it has been just faking it, you know. Um, but in faking it, you still, at least if you're paying a little bit of attention, you still learn some things. So you can still kind of, and now with the advent of AI and agents, you can just kind of like how to like fake ask questions to get things done, and they fill in the gaps to your dumb questions. Or like you didn't ask for this, but like you need it, and it just does it. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of scary because what if I mean, I think the smartest developers will always, maybe have, at least for the time being, insights that the AI might not. But I mean, because I think the smartest developers would probably think of similar things like that before even needing to ask an AI.
It's really nice for anything IT related. Like a client wanted something deployed on Azure, and I had never really, I only just like tinkered with it, but I just gave the agent, I just said like, here are the
Here's what my
credentials.
client asked for.
Yeah, and
Uh-huh.
just deploy it. I mean, and it did it. And I had to. Azure is just like if you've ever been in that interface, it's horrible. Same with AWS, same with all of them. They're just every single bell and whistle in there. It never covers the 80% use case. I don't know. There's just yeah. Even if it doesn't know something, it just automatically just connects to the documentation and studies it, and
Right.
it's amazing.
Yeah, and then it figures it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the real benefit in that type of environment is that most of these things are either well documented, kind of in a very technical way that it's able to find the information it needs, or it's dealing with like a bug that's been discussed enough times in like Stack Overflow that it's able to just figure out the fix to it. Um, or it's even, I mean, in some cases, it might even be like a brand new bug, but similar enough to something else that it's able to reference and then figure it out on its own. I don't know at what point that like becomes just pure insight, like at a certain point, it you would think it just is able to have like intuition and know answers to things because it's so smart and it already knows all these things anyways.
It thinks it knows
Like
all
for
things.
example, what just happened here. Like I don't know if anyone's ever done what I just did with like running I mean this is pretty niche, right? Like running a BIP-110 NOTs node alongside a core node on the same machine using pointers so that you don't have to repeat the storage, but then allowing it, to like, so it's
But
like, go ahead.
that's the thing that AI can figure out for you, because the underlying concepts are not new. I mean, file
That's true.
system,
That's
hard
true.
links, soft links, etc.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just that AI for you will be linking
It
those
put those
concepts.
pieces together. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you
Kind of in the same way
let
that Satoshi put all the
That's
pieces
what I was
together
thinking.
for Bitcoin.
yeah,
He was an AI.
and you only need to know a little bit about what you want to do and the output to be, and AI will stitch it just together.
Question: If Bitcoin hadn't been invented and the whole cryptocurrency, like let's just say up until this point, like for whatever reason, in some parallel universe, all the great minds that were trying to crack this just could never crack it because it's using building blocks and ideas that are kind of known, and it's just a matter of putting those building blocks together. Do you think AI could have discovered it on its own, like the solution
Yeah,
eventually?
that's the million dollar question.
Well, not anymore. It's not because we already kicked off this, this
A few
party.
months, I
But
would
Yeah, I
have
guess
said
you would just set
no.
it set it to a few, a year before
and,
they
and the
discovered the
thing, well, I
code.
guess the thing that's maybe more interesting is, I mean, there was definitely some intuition Satoshi had in terms of like human psychology, right, and market cycles that drove adoption into Bitcoin. Like obviously the way he set it up was pretty ingenious with like the issuance curve and the halving and stuff. I think I mean whether he planned it or not, the shock to the system that the halvings caused, as well as like the very early issuance, um, I think probably played a pretty significant role in Bitcoin's early adoption and kind of wild swings in price early on. And that was important because the volatility actually attracts, I think, more people when that type of thing happens. Um, would AI have been able to done that? Like it's one thing to understand the technical components that go into building something, but then understanding the human psychology behind that. I mean, maybe, right? Because I guess that's probably fairly well studied, and depending on what school of thought you're coming at it from, which an AI can really come at it from any school of thought if it's prompted to, or if it's smart enough to come at it from one over another. I mean, maybe it would be able to piece everything together,
Well, that's
including
like
that
having
part of it.
digested the whole of Mises and Hayek and Rothbard, and by the way, can code like a motherfucker. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like because you don't. That's the rare. Like Saifedean can't code.
Well, some people think Saifedean can. Well, anyways, we won't go there. What's up, Josh?
Hey, I had a question with your two nodes here. Could
Yeah,
you use
what's up?
to kind of map out how all the nodes are actually connected together? So if they're both on one chain, but one is looking at one other group of nodes, and the other one is looking at a completely separate group of nodes, you'd be able to see the short-term chain splits also. So like all the orphan blocks, I don't know if we have good counts of that already or not, but then you'd be able to see like the time difference from one side to the other side, and then see them resolve, be able to get good counts on how often that happens, that kind of thing.
So I think Jonathan, the BitMEX Research John, I forget his last name. Is it Beer? He runs. So it's bit nodes. Let me just look it up here. So it's bit nodes, but it's bitnod.es, right? So bitnod.es, bit nodes. On that site, I think he kind of does that, right? He's got a bunch of different versions of nodes running. And if there's ever a orphaned block or a split, right? A chain split, temporary chain split. I think he's monitoring all those things. So he'll put out stats about, which blocks his nodes see first and kind of the latency on one side or the other. He's doing that in probably a much better way than I ever could, to be honest. And I think the two nodes that I'm running, it's not really comparable anyways, because one is running on ClearNet and the other's running over Tor. So you'd always expect there to be, a bit of a lag on the Tor side. But on a similar note, like I think, and maybe I'm not right here, but are ClearNet nodes not preferentially peering with nodes that are geographically closer to them typically? I mean, I think that that's not always the case, but and maybe it's just a matter of density of nodes. But most of my peers have IP addresses in the United States, for example, right? And again, that might just be like unrelated to. It might just be statistically, I'm more likely to connect with nodes in the United States because there's more nodes in the United States. So that, I mean, if that's
Right.
the, you know, but there's quite a few nodes like in Germany, and I don't think I have nearly as many connections, even on a relative basis, to Germany than I do in the United States. So I think there is some geographical, stuff happening in the networking there, but I'm not entirely sure. That might be interesting to learn about, to be honest. But I was gonna
Bitcoin.
say, with
Yeah.
the Tor nodes, because the thing is, right? Like, I think when you have these chain splits, it's often because you kind of have like geographical, um, you have separations geographically. So you have like a node that's found in Russia, or sorry, a block that's found in Russia, and a block that's found in the United States. And as they're propagating out across the world, they kind of, they hit the boundaries. And generally, and this would also be super interesting if you could somehow get this data, right? Imagine if you could get like a live map of like the propagation of a node across the world, or sorry, I said the node, propagation of a block across the world. And then you could literally see like in a um, block race when there's a chain split, you would see like one propagating and then all of a sudden another one pop up and like kind of be racing to the edge of where the where the first one got to. That'd be pretty dope. Imagine if you could fucking like get that data somehow. And I mean, it's impossible because you'd have to have all the data from all the nodes. But man, that'd be cool. But yeah, I think I would imagine it is. Go
Well,
ahead.
Wouldn't you just need some of the data from the groups? So if it's kind of local like that, you need a handful in the US, a handful, and then you'd be able to see the two jumps, and you'd be able to measure that then
Maybe, yeah.
a
Or you
little
could
bit.
even like, you could host you could host nodes in known like different regions of the world. So you could even be in control of all of them. You just host them in different regions and then just monitor, geographically yourself in that way. That could be how you could do it, to be honest. But the point I was going to get at is like, if you've got a ClearNet node, you might be more sensitive to geography. But then a Tor node, you're more sensitive to like, just latency in general. But maybe not so much geographically. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
have to think
Yeah, that's
about it
pretty
some more.
cool. Plus, doesn't a lot of that get canceled out just because there's super connected nodes right now anyway?
Yeah, but the super connected nodes, so the super connected nodes are typically, if not exclusively, running on ClearNet. And if they are running over Tor, I'd have to think about this as well. So I think they're getting most of their connections as inbound connections. So the network is gossiping and peers are sharing their peers with other nodes that are looking for peers. And like a super node is one that has like a really good uptime, has a lot of connections, isn't doing anything funky. It's got good bandwidth. And so it's probably more likely to be gossiped to other nodes. And then the longer it stays up, the more likely it is to be gossiped. And then eventually it just kind of connects to most of the network. I don't know if I don't know exactly how that works over Tor, if it's the same mechanisms or not. Um, but yeah, I guess I don't know. We'd have honestly. I mean, Portland's one of the people running one of these nodes, so he would be the best person to talk to about this. Yeah.
I'm not convinced that geography plays any role in it. Actually, I think that they like.
Well, of course it does.
I think that
There's latency in geography.
right, but I think that your idea of just the fact that so many of the peers are from the U.S. is just a number of like how many there are. Yeah,
Statistically, yeah. So
right.
yeah. Maybe, but yeah, I guess like I don't think there's nothing in the protocol that is preferring a geographically closer peer.
There is. Well, not in the protocol itself, but Bitcoin Core has this feature called ASMAP, which
Right.
by default is disabled. And I think since Core 30 or 31, they actually include a default ASMAP file, which is basically a file that describes all the big IP ranges, clusters them in the world. And if you enable that feature, it will try to peer in as many as different AS regions as possible.
Okay, so in other words, I mean, I guess what I said is still true then, because there's no mechanism that is preferentially pairing with geographies close to you, but there is a potential mechanism that is preferentially pairing with a range of geographies.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's kind of the opposite if you have it enabled. That's cool.
And it's basically a prevention of like
The
one entire top level internet entity sibling you.
Right. Well, yes, sibling you or doing an eclipse attack.
Yeah, or eclipsing
Yeah.
a whole set of nodes. Yeah.
Cool. Those damn core devs never doing anything good.
They are prepared for the worst, man. That's why I so despise the whole discussion of
fucking good for nothing core devs not working on anything important.
Yeah, it's so disgraceful and distasteful even. I mean, they're prepared for the worst, like real nation state network attacks. and then they're worrying about a few freaking bytes in a block. I mean, what the fuck?
Well, that's so we got a strong support there for core. That
It's not even a strong support for core. It's just like a strong support for the protocol developers working on Bitcoin. And, because Bitcoin core is the reference implementation, they're working on core. But I mean, these motherfuckers are smart as shit, preparing for a nation state level attack. And then you got retards on Twitter screaming at them to stop spam. And you're like, okay, guys, there's priorities here.
so,
And
and then
we're
I
not
guess
going to be listening to you fucking retards.
no, and I think that that's where the project needs to be, right? Because I think the final boss, the nation state. I mean, that those fights are ahead of us, assuming we get to them. So that kind of needs to be where it is, right? In anticipation, the nation isn't just the separation of money and state. I mean, that's not going to go down without a pretty good fight.
I mean, some of these guys might say that like CSAM ending up on the blockchain would probably come from a nation state.
Right. Yeah, it almost be like that's the game theory, right?
So, but that's an argument in their favor.
Wait, sorry.
Just,
Explain that again.
just throwing that out there. They would like, if we're talking about a nation state attack, or core is only focused on those. They would say Knots and BIP-110 people they're focused on the nation state attack of putting CSAM on the blockchain because they're the only ones with an
But
incentive to do that.
Yeah, but
they're not
it
though, because knots and BIP-110 does nothing to prevent that attack.
Sure. Yep.
So
but
so
it
it's a
wouldn't
lark.
even be an
Yeah.
it wouldn't even be an attack on the chain or the network. It would be an attack of the people in that state, because people on the other side of the world, they are in a different legal state, so it's not an attack on them, and the network can handle it. I mean, you're not attacking the protocol, you're attacking the people of your own state if you want to put CSAM and then
Which
try to
try
get people convicted,
right.
etc. You need so yeah.
And not only
It's
that, but
not an attack on the network.
there's no legal precedent that would indicate those running nodes would be responsible anyways. I mean, it'd be an incredibly high bar to clear to actually conduct that attack, and you'd have to have a pretty corrupt government to
Dude, if
pull it
it's an
off.
existential threat to the state, you think they're not going to play that? I mean, but
I think they will, but I think there's easier ways to do it than that angle. I think that they literally all they have to do is just go to the ISPs and say, "Give me a list of all the people that you know who are running nodes," and then they just come to your door and shoot you in the face.
Yep.
Like that's the easiest way if you're an actually corrupt government and you're willing to like put CSAM on chain and then go arrest people. You're probably also willing just to go to their house and arrest them in the first place because they're running a node. Like, you don't need to
yeah, some of
do the
those.
first step.
But that's still then an attack on the people, not an attack on the network. Because
Right.
then okay, maybe if the US does that and it bans all the node runners, that okay, the network will be fine in Europe and in China and in Korea and whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I think you would
Or
probably see if that started happening in real life, I mean, I don't know, it would be crazy, but I think you'd see a lot of people probably fleeing and trying to escape to other countries where that attack wasn't happening. And then they would start, and then they'd keep running nodes just in those other places, presumably, unless they're scared to death to run a node now.
But I'm going to digress for just a second. Non-tech. So my hometown, not hometown anymore, but for the last 14 years, Madison, Wisconsin is looks like it's going to be protest city again today. It's going to be like they got like a little George Floyd, some black guy was killed yesterday, and they're in the streets and they're like they fired up almost like in record time. I think it was in the afternoon, and then the cop shoots this guy, and they're in the streets, and they're there's probably going to be like bricks through the windows this fucking weekend. And it's been like that for fucking 7 years. just and like I just like saw the whole thing and like all just insane crazy liberalism, like, and I saw like this guy had a knife and the cop was, he shot him, like he was just like doing his fucking job. And they're gonna light the streets up like this weekend, and who knows how long the protests are gonna go. And so the only reason I'm bringing that up is, I bet I would love Gloria, and she just grew up in a place in a time where she's being like these ideas are in the water, they're inculcated, and they just want, they're against all the worst things. They're against racism, they're against sexism, they're against the patriarchy, and like it just sort of, creeped into all these organizations, Microsoft, Google, Facebook. It was in the water. So I don't really have anything.
So, I
So
mean,
my
I
point
would
is,
maybe frame it another way. And I think this is the way that, I mean, because to steel man the liberal point of view, and also to kind of prove their point, you might ask the question: would Gloria have been recognized or even felt compelled to apply to like the grants and the Bitcoin stuff that she did, had it not been for outreach in particular to find competent devs that weren't white men? Now, it's not a matter of saying we're only looking for, or it's not a matter of saying we're only going to hire minorities or women because we have to fill a quota, but it's more so saying, are there any competent minorities or women that are being ignored or are too timid to, speak out for themselves? And can we foster the intelligence that they have in order to benefit our own projects or our own companies, because they might bring to the table some ideas that, everyone else hasn't thought of, right? Or they might bring
I
some
think they're
technical
doing
skills that other people don't
well,
have.
they most certainly are going to. And I
Hmm.
guess, they're going to, like, what's the zeitgeist? Nobody wants to be a Nazi, right? You want to
Right?
be on the right side of history, and you want to be, like against the rich, and but it's very much different than, coming at it because you are like sort of a bomb throwing anarchist.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it's, it's a difficult way of doing things, but, like at the same time, I don't think anyone is arguing that certain groups of people haven't been disenfranchised for a long time historically,
That's exactly what you get. And I mean,
right?
honestly, so I mean, this guy who,
And so there's a pendulum that swings back and
right.
forth,
So, I mean, but that's what
and
you're going to
and
get.
and
This
it,
guy,
and it can swing too far one way if you take it to an
right.
extreme.
Yeah. But I mean,
But you have to,
that woman
you
that
have to
was,
take, like, you can't group together every single instance of a bad DEI hire with
yeah,
perhaps,
right.
with perhaps like a DEI hire, quote unquote, where the person is perfectly competent, if not, exceeds the qualifications, but they were just found because they were looking for that diversity. So there's differences there, right? It's like, the idea of like the pilots, right? DEI hire pilots. Now, that's a great one to bring up because, it's very emotional. Who wants to get in a plane with someone who's underqualified? But like, do you really believe, Mr. Trump, that they're like bending the rules of qualifications just to hire some black dude? I mean, I would be very surprised if that happened. And as a matter of fact, I think that would open them up to a big, huge liability if it was true. So I think the
Yeah,
truth is,
I mean, just the way how much of the society has changed, I almost think maybe the bar is getting lowered. And I would say, in
yeah, I
the
don't think
case,
so. I don't think so,
like
Greg. I think that's
with
the psyop
Tennessee,
that they want you to believe, to
no,
be honest.
so like with this
You know?
case in Madison, like it's gonna like however it's gonna unfold, but they're gonna convene a jury. And
Yeah.
when the jury in you're in a liberal city, and like they're going to talk about systemic racism, they're going to talk about
Hmm.
why this guy had mental illness and why the state failed and didn't see the warning signs. This guy that
I agree with that. I mean, I think we're talking about
no,
two
I think
different things
but
right
you're
now,
saying does
right?
it creep into medicine and like he uses the I don't care who is the who my pilot slept with last night, right? I just want him to be a good fucking pilot.
Right.
And I don't care the color, but I do think that they bent just like it was. I mean, you go to we made a big mistake. We did slavery. We got to fix it all, and we got to do it this generation. And Obama was gonna, and here we are.
No, it's not. It's not even about that necessarily. I think that's the psyop, right? Like that's what you know
It's not.
people who are
I
against DEI
fucking
want
miss
you to
it, dude.
think,
It's just I'm
right?
of a certain
But I
age
think
where I've lived it.
the real nature. I mean, and because again, it's extremes. So like, if you're looking at the extreme on one side, of course, they're going to be like, we need reparations, and it's like, we have no diversity in these industries, so we need to bring fucking, transgender people into being pilots. And so it's like, okay, that's an extreme. Nobody serious is saying those types of things. But then, like, the more tempered approach is like, okay, are people who are smart and capable and who could be productive members of society not getting the opportunities that they should because either A, the industry isn't, like looking for them, or B, they don't even know how to advocate for themselves to get the jobs in the first place. And I think that's the angle that you have to approach it from, because ultimately, like, we want a society that has the most competent and capable people working in the best fitting jobs for them so that we can all be productive and grow, right? The society as a whole. And so, I think when you look at it from that angle, you see that there are benefits to that because now you are finding more capable and competent people than you would have otherwise. Or maybe you're expanding the pool of competency because you're looking in those groups that would have otherwise not advocated for themselves. So, I mean, that's the angle I look at it from. And I've worked in large DEI, like pro DEI companies, and I've experienced both sides of it, right? I've experienced like colleagues who I'm like, ugh, God, there's a lot of gay people in my company. Like, are you sure all these gay people go out there? It's like, so that's like one side, right? I get it. But then the other side, I'm like, huh, she's a really competent dev. And she's also like never advocates for herself. I wonder if she got hired because she's, whatever, but she's one of the best devs we have now. So like there's two angles of it. And I think you have to appreciate both, right? You can't have the good without the bad. I think, for really important jobs, you still need to have standards. You can't bend the rules and hire one person that's not competent enough versus another, especially for an important job, being like a doctor or a pilot or a core dev. Right? A maintainer rather, because core devs aren't really hired. They just work on the thing. Maintainers are kind of voted in, but like I think even there, again, if you go look at all the logs, you look at all the commits, you look at the work done. As far as I know, there's never been a core maintainer who's been voted in who wasn't competent enough for that role. And likewise, I have yet to hear of a black pilot who was hired just because they were black, even though they failed the pilot's test. Like that doesn't exist, you know? Now, where you might get upset about, which I think is legitimate, is when you are talking about like admission to universities and programs where you are bending the rules. You're saying, all right, this kid's got a 4.0, but he's Asian. And this kid's got a 3.0, but she's black, right? And then you say, well, we need more black women. So too bad, Asian boy. You know what I'm saying? That to me is like that's more unfair. But but in part because it's not like a, it's not it's not a job that like people's lives depend on, right? Like if people's lives depend on it, you definitely need to meet those standards. And in college, it's not like people's lives depend on it, so the rules can be bent a little bit more, but at the same time, I don't know. It's like I think that's where a lot of the anger stems from, maybe people getting stiffed in those areas, and then that has knock-on effects, right? I wouldn't have had the job I got if I hadn't gone to the university I went to. And I'm lucky enough to have gone to that university because I probably, I had a fairly high GPA and I was an athlete. So I had multiple factors. But if all I was bringing to the table was a 4.0 and a white dude, I mean, who knows? Maybe not. Right. So, anyways, we don't have to talk about that anymore. I think it's kind of gay.
Check your DMs. I found an interesting line of code in Bitcoin Core.
Oh, okay. Is it
related to the network peering?
Okay.
Anti-clustering rule.
Oh, BIP-110 signaling. Is this your dashboard you're putting together?
It is.
I don't know how I feel about your blocks being put on top. That seems kind of weird. What are you, Egyptian?
Why wouldn't they be on top?
Because you write from the top left to the bottom right, unless
Yeah,
you're
I
an
know.
Arab. Are you a fucking Arab?
Well, you have to think it's like click, 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 click,
I'm
and
just
then at the
kidding.
end of the road you go up.
No, I know. You're stacking them on top like Legos.
Correct.
Okay.
But that's not it. Look below that. I mean, we can look at that and talk about that later. But look down at the code there.
No, I'm looking at this dashboard right now. Okay. No, okay, I'll look down. Sorry. Con man. Con man. 2 C's, 2 N's. Con man. Wire output. Other feelers. Distinct network groups. Is this DEI coming into core? Is that what you're trying to say?
No. So if anybody's following along, it's at Bitcoin Core and it's in source/net.cpp, line 2876 is what we're looking at.
Got it. Yeah. So it's looking at the groups and it's not letting you peer with other peers that have.
Like if you already have the same peers in that block.
If you already have a peer in that group, right?
Right.
That's interesting. Yeah. I wonder how many groups there are around the world, like globally.
Yeah, that is a good, like that. It is interesting.
Because that could also, like, I wonder if if you're trying to peer with more people or more nodes, and it's only allowing you to do one per group, that could cap it if there's not very many groups. I mean, I guess I'd have to see or understand the degree to which they're slicing up the world, right? I mean,
Yeah, that would be weird.
Maybe the groups are super small geographically, like there's like tens of thousands across the world or something, and so. But even so, right? I mean, like you're completely removing the ability to peer with, like, let's say I'm guessing the groups are at least as big as a city, if not larger, right? Or let's say maybe even as big as a state or a country. Probably not that big. Probably somewhere in between those two sizes. Let's say a city. I mean, how many nodes do you think are coming out of like Berlin? Probably hundreds. So you get to have one node in Berlin. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to keep looking into this.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. This is the kind of thing that I feel like if there's anything in core I could like contribute to, It's like some of these more like topological, geographical. Like it'd be interesting to look in the real nuts and bolts of like peering and algorithmically what they're doing to try to optimize that. Anyways, all right. I think I should go eat some lunch. I didn't eat breakfast. Time to break the fast at 2 p.m. So maybe I will I'll bring you back up here for a second, Ant. But do you have anything else you wanted to say? I'm going to shut down the space.
At the end there.
Oh yeah, I think it's glitching a little bit. But anyways, I'm gonna close it down. I gotta eat some lunch, and then I gotta take my son to the park. I might Okay, Mr. Huddle wants to come back up. God damn it.
Tell me if my BIP-110 dashboard is incorrect. Take a look at it.
Okay, I will. Mr. Huddle, are you there?
Don't turn it down. Don't.
No, wait a second. You missed my epic rant defending DEI.
The what?
You would have liked it.
What are you defending?
I said you missed my epic rant defending DEI. You would have loved it. Because I know how much you love DEI.
Hold on. Am I wrecked? I can't hear anything. Hello?
Oh man.
Fucking goddamn! This fucking app
Fucking
sucks dick. I can't hear anything.
Bitch
Hold
ass
on.
motherfucking app.
Not very inclusive.
It's probably because he's white. He is a Jew, though.
Dick, I can't hear anything. Hold on.
Motherfucking app.
Not very inclusive.
It's probably because he's white. He is a Jew.
That my boy.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ, man. Come on.
I think we found the Fed.
Oh man. Hey, Mr. Huddle, get out of the fucking Fed building, bro. They're jamming your comms. All right, I'm gonna shut down the space unless you fucking get out of that Fed building. Thanks for coming up, Remco.
Yeah, see you, Wicked.
Mr. Huddle, I'm gonna count to 5.
Real quick,
And
Wicked.
then,
Are you playing in the, I don't know if you're still reading the poker chat, but are you playing in the Chip 110 tourney?
ooh, probably not. I those poker nights, like they're fun, but they take a little too long. So
Yeah.
it's like, and then and then it's like I'm not sleeping in bed with my wife all night. So
I can put you in real quick.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yeah. What were you defending? Who were you defending?
I was defending DEI because inclusivity is very important and diversity in thought. It's like, it makes us stronger.
Whatever. So I was just over there in the other space, over there, and Samson's on there. It's
What
fucking
space?
the one with the morning Bitcoin. Not
Bitcoin today?
Bitcoin today.
Oh man, what am I missing?
Dude, you missed a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot going on.
Oh man,
dude, it's still going on. They're still there.
All right.
So I started. So Mechanic went on. Like Samson went on. Mechanic jumped on. Talked to Samson. Oh, fucking phone call. And then fucking Mechanics just talking a bunch of bullshit. How again there's 0% activation threshold. BIP-148 was a 0% activation threshold. BIP-91 didn't have anything to do with it. Just fucking lying his teeth. So I got on stage and I started talking, and then Samson's like I started talking, and then Mechanic's like, no, I don't want to talk to Mr. Hoddle. I want to talk to Samson. And then Samson's like, well, Mr. Hoddle was there. He knows what happened. Like let him talk. Fucking he wouldn't. He's like, no. He refused to talk to me. He fucking stopped talking.
That's hilarious. What a little bitch.
It was hilarious. All right, I'm going back over there.
All right, I guess I'll go over there too.
Yeah, I'll go listen.
God damn it. Bye, everyone.